you come into this major as the second best team in the world. You hung around after Dallas and you stayed in NA to boot camp. That boot camp, the more practice they got worse, right? Remember when they played their first two tournaments? That's when Falcons looked their best. Then after practice, they looked a little bit worse. And then after that, they looked fucking dog shit. Before this, they'd only lost to Vitality and Mouse. And then they lose to Bait, Lin Vision, and fucking MIBR, guys. What are we talking about? Like, you can say, oh, there was pressure because we're expected to do so well, or some of the external factors because we knew we were going to make a roster change after the major. But that's fine if you lose to, I don't know, fucking Mouse or even Na'Vi. But to the teams that you lost to, it is inexcusable.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. We're brought to you by Anthros and Skin Place. They do two different things. One of them you sit on, the other one you shoot with. If you need to sell some skins, head over to Skin Place. If you need to take a seat, get over to Anthros. We're back. I think it's a Tuesday. I'll be honest, I did just wake up at 7 a.m. local time in Austin, Texas, where the major's going down. I got Prof, I got Striker, I got Lucas on the ones and twos. He's not observing, but he may as well be. And gentlemen, we are doing a mid-major, even mid-stage, because stage 2 is yet to come to its conclusion, podcast, because that's the only one that could really sync up. Prof, you're flying tomorrow, is that correct?
That is correct. I'm flying tomorrow morning. Won't say through what, just in case, someone's weird and goes on, calls someone to try to cancel my flight. That's always possible. By the way, guys, don't post your boarding passes. Also, never post your boarding pass online. Someone can just make a call and cancel the flight like your ticket. So just don't do that. Just like PSA right there for you guys.
Feels like unnecessary but good advice.
Yeah.
Kind of like working at an event and posting your badge online. Don't do that either.
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
Who did that?
It happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No one immediately.
Donna did it at the HLT Awards.
She was just happy to be there,
It was her first big thing, It's fine.
How can I post the credentials out to the world so someone can copy it and then get in and no, please don't murder us. That's fine. We don't want to die. Now, look, I have some stories. I don't know which one to start with because there's obviously a lot that we need to talk about from the Counter-Strike realms. But,
I would just mention one thing before we get into everything, is that we're still doing, obviously, the Austin live show in a week, 8 days, on Wednesday the 18th, and there are still some tickets left. 240, I think, sold, which is our record. We did that in Copenhagen, so we're probably going to sell more and have more people than we had over there. So if interested, head over to our Twitter and you can find the link for the tickets.
All right, come along. Again, I think I mentioned this on one of our previous episodes. The point of the live show, it's not just going to be like a podcast that you get here, which maybe you want, but if you come, that's not what you're going to get. Hopefully, we're able to bring in some guests. That's all usually ironed out just before because of the availability of people.
Moses is confirmed.
Okay.
Few other casters I spoke to, they're interested. It's like pending all the media stuff, but I think it should be fine. So, and now we're just waiting for like players and general guests to see who's going to be around at the time. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. We're doing a Skinionaire live. Obviously, we're doing this in conjunction with Liquid. But all right, let me get to some story time. Where should we start? Let's start with the most recent. So I was just telling you guys, so I just went down to breakfast, and apparently there were riots. Oh, not riots. There were protests. I keep going straight to riots. Like, I don't know why I want it to be bigger than it is. So if anybody is aware, apparently there was this was a whole lot of stuff going on in LA over the last couple of days. Apparently that's leaked through into Austin, Texas, because I went down to grab some coffee and a bagel before doing the podcast. And they're like, oh, you're the first one down for breakfast. And they then explained to me that it was surprising that I slept through the night because there was people with flashbangs and smoke grenades just down the road. And they showed me footage of like police cars and everything like that. So that was fun. But the other night, and I think I need to link my story up that I'm going to tell right now with Dupree's, because Jason gave me a nugget of this that meant that shoes were left outside his door. But the other night, I got woken up at about 3:30 in the morning. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I could just hear someone talking. And I thought maybe it was coming from outside. Now, I'm like pretty high up. I'm not on the highest floor, but I'm pretty high up. And I'd be surprised if I could hear people talking on the street. I can hear music. I can hear that. But I could hear, sir, you have to get up, sir. Sir, you need to go to your room, sir. Just constantly for like 5 minutes, just nonstop. This guy like is trying to wake somebody up. So I assume it's security. So I can't sleep. It's quite loud. And I'm just listening. I'm like, all right, I'm invested in this story now. So eventually this guy gets up. He must be drunk, passed out on the ground, or that's my surmise of the situation. Security's trying to get him to go to his room. Anyway, the guy gets up and he's still not going to his room. Like, he's not listening. He must have woken up, like passed out completely, and now he's feeling disorientated. And he's essentially getting in a bit of a kerfuffle with the security. He's like, no, I'm not going to my room. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, he was getting in this real back and forth argy-bargy, very American lad. And then they're holding on to him because he's drunk. Like, I can hear him falling into walls and everything like that. So he's real fucking drunk. And then the security guard is like, sir, can I please just take you to the room? Like, trying to be really kind about things. And the guy starts talking shit back. And he's like, sir, like, we just want to take you to your room, sir. Like, there's no problems here. And the guy starts calling him. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then they're like, no, sir, just come with us. And then they go to grab him, and the guy starts running, and he must be a big man because it sounds like a fucking elephant running down the hallway. Boom, 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 boom. And they're like, sir, stop. And then they're running after him. They grab him. And then the guy hits one of the security guards, and he goes, bang. And the guy goes, like, he's just this American dude. He goes, I can't do an American accent this early in the morning. But he goes, you shouldn't have done that. And then bang, they fucking drop the guy. Like, I hear this guy hit the deck, and then he's still floundering on the ground trying to hit back. And he swings, and then I realize it's someone's glasses, because the other security guy goes, no, your glasses. And then they're like pounded on this guy, and they go bang, and the guy's like face down on the ground, because I'm sitting here through a peephole just listening to all this. I see the running down the hall, and I'm trying to listen to I'm not opening the door. This is America. This is Texas. Someone could have a fucking gun. So the guy's on the ground, they're on top of him, and then eventually I slowly start getting back into bed, but paramedics and cops come. So there's a paramedic there, and she's like, sir, are you injured? I can see a bruise on your face. Do you know where you are?
Story.
And she goes, do you know where you are? And he goes, he said, not Austin, right? And then she also asked him like a math question, and he got that wrong too. So he was so fucking drunk. And then I hear the cops reading the rights to the guy. Like, is that you have the right to remain silent, everything. And then I didn't think it was real, because it was at 3:30 in the morning. I thought, this can't be real. So the next day I went down to the lobby to hand in some laundry. And I asked the woman behind the counter, I was like, did anything happen on the 14th floor last night? She was like, yeah. And I was like, were you here for it? She was like, no. But I saw the footage. And I was like, okay, well, lucky I didn't get involved in that. So that was that. And 1 second, I have a bit prepared. Not spitting water, I promise. That's your major hopes, dreams, pick'ems, the best grand final possible, the best grand final we've had all year, blowing the fuck up because Falcons got eliminated yesterday because they were dog shit. All right, where are we starting the show? Are we starting there?
Could as well. Why not? I thought that this was all going to be tied into, like, somehow the American guy is Elige or some shit.
I never worked out who the American guy was, but apparently Dupree woke up that next morning. He's also on the same floor as me, and there was a pair of shoes out the front of his room.
So, now Dupree's going around the hotel and like asking everyone to put on the shoe to find his Cinderella of the night.
Like a Cinderella story, goddamn.
Talk about Cinderella stories. Legacy. Huh? What do you say? What do you
let's
say about
start.
that
Yeah,
one?
okay. So hold on. I just opened the page where I pressed the buttons. So
Okay.
Lucas, the preview's not working, man. Why is my preview not working, Lucas,
Classic.
man? Like, oh, man. All right, let's begin in the beginning. Stage 1, not really any crazy surprises, to be honest, other than what you just mentioned there of Legacy. Obviously, Bait and Heroic going in the 3-0 fashion. We had Nemiga, Betboom, OG, Tyloo, Legacy, and Lin Vision scraping through. The teams eliminated FlyQuest, Wildcard, NRG, Chingus Warriors, Imperial, Complexity, Fluxo, and Metasport. I think what we could do here is talk about how bad North American Counter-Strike is, but to what avail? What would that
Always a
do
good
for
topic,
us?
no?
It's honestly just sad, but also not unexpected, right? Like I think the biggest surprise on paper of this stage was Complexity being eliminated so early, but it's like they're playing without Halzerk. I don't understand why people are putting them as 3-0s. Like it doesn't really make any sense. Like maybe they could go through, but like I don't think it was expected. They're not, in my eyes, anywhere near favorites because if you look at who they lost, Grim and Halzerk definitely heads and shoulders above their best players, carry them through everything this year. All of their good like successes, obviously. Sexy Nix had some moments and everything, but it was these two guys.
What? Who? Is
Sexy.
Nick sexy? Is it like Sexy Flanders? God
It's
damn,
sick.
Sexy Flanders.
What the? What?
6C,
But-
he meant.
You said sexy.
I call him sexy.
Oh, okay. Well, I call him sexy. But
I don't know.
surely you know the Sexy Flanders.
From Simpsons?
Yeah.
I don't remember a sexy version. I just remember the
When
classic.
he's wearing the suit when they're out skiing.
I don't know this episode.
Come on, man.
Let's see
You
in
gotta
chat.
get
Ask
law.
chat if they know.
People know Sexy Flanders,
quick poll
man.
if they know sexy Flanders.
People know Sexy Flanders.
In my I'll admit it's probably not the right pronunciation. I will not be like holding the Kyosuke, fort on this one. Anyway, that's one. And Metasport being so bad.
Yeah, defend your Swedes.
I mean, there's nothing to defend. They're just horrible. The results before were also horrible, but it was just like kind of copium on that one. Honestly, it was copium. Chingus Warriors got a win. Could have gotten 2, to be honest.
Controls the GOAT. He's my GOAT.
The fact that you're just calling him the GOAT throughout the cast, I like how we just destroyed all meaning of the word GOAT. Like it doesn't mean even the animal anymore. Like it doesn't mean anything. You can just use it at any point for anything that happens anywhere in the world. He's the GOAT. That's it. I don't know. Striker, talk about some teams.
I don't know. I think I saw like one Chingus Warrior game, so I don't even
You don't
know
have
what
to talk
happened
about
with that.
Chingus Warriors.
No, I don't have to talk about Chingus
I would
Warriors.
love for you to talk about Chingus Warriors for at least 1 hour, but you don't have to.
I think Chingus Warriors performed better than I thought they would. And I think they actually got powered up after that win that they got in the lower.
I think honestly, Cool Ass choked. He was actually pretty bad.
He wasn't playing that great. I heard big things about him. He wasn't playing that great, to be fair.
I hope I didn't put on too much pressure. I don't know if that could even reach him. Whatever I was saying, but I just hope I didn't affect him negatively because I just wanted the best for him.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Look, what else happened within that stage?
FlyQuest.
FlyQuest bottling it.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest surprise to me, to be honest, of the entire stage. Because
the bottling I
think they were always gonna I had them as quite convincingly through to be honest. I even thought maybe they're gonna be a 3-0 team. I just put Tyloo there because vibes, but honestly, I was also considering them because Complexity wasn't really, as Prof said, wasn't really the option. So I thought they were just gonna kind of fly through pretty easily. Didn't happen. Pretty rough, to be honest. I mean, they even had 2-0, and their run wasn't so hard. I mean, they met Heroic at the beginning, of course, but then they played Nemiga and Tyloo in their other qualification games, and the Nemiga game wasn't even close, and then Tyloo also destroyed them on the second, third map. They were nothing. It's very disappointing.
I mean, I think one takeaway is for me, 6 European teams in stage 1. 5 went through and they went in the top 5 spots, all top 5 spots European teams, and then 2 Chinese teams and a Brazilian one. I think it's also somewhat showing that the way it's set up is kind of unfair towards some of the European teams. There's the amount of slots for Europe is somewhat limited. compared to the quality that exists right now. And I don't think it can be more. I think this is the most they can be.
No, it can be more.
Okay, well,
I mean, if
I don't
nobody
know.
makes it, like, let's say, like, no, all the European teams make it to stage 2, you know, and then
it has to be the progression
or stage
into
3,
stage 3. Yeah,
stage 3
yeah,
rather, not
yeah.
stage 2. Then of course you can increase it.
Yeah,
I mean, right now
well-
it's 16.
Well, Falcons is losing our spot, so
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, in theory, you could have it be like down the line. You could have it be 24. That's the maximum. Technically,
Yeah,
because the only ones,
technically.
or even more, I think. Anyway, yeah,
Can't be more
it's
than
not,
24,
it's
can
not.
it?
No,
No.
it can,
Oh,
can
no,
be
wait.
22 because 6
Yeah.
and 4 are always going to be Americas and Asia.
Yes.
So
yeah.
22 is the maximum that Europe can have, or any region really.
I think, like, obviously that was a good sign within that stage. It changed into stage 2. I should probably say something about FlyQuest. I think Nedic showed that he's the real deal. I like the fact that he was also bringing the energy to the team too. Like, he stays calm, but he also gets fired up after nice round wins. So that's good. I think that, you know, in the way that I was hearing him being referenced by some of the analysts was as a new in-game leader. He's not a new in-game leader, but he is the new in-game leader again, right? So, like, he was doing it before when Dexter went for the European adventure, and then he's taken over again since. Look, playing Tylo in the last game is like a cruel twist of fate right there. And then the fact that they won that first map but then got blown out on the next 2, I think that's a story of FlyQuest in a lot of tournaments. I've seen them just get blown out in series, like when the pressure's on. So there's still obviously a pressure thing there. I think there was also that core of Liaz, Vexite, and Inz has never won a best of 3 in a major too. And to be completely honest, the interview or whatever the Inz gave, where it was like, yeah, it's nice not to play Vitality or Spirit or whatever in the first round, is true. But you needed to make the follow through on that. This type of an event, I kind of use this, and the way that I would like compare it to my career is back when I played the major qualifier against 3D Max and Dignitas, right? And that was a long time ago. That was 10 years ago. It's that level of competition, right? Like, obviously for us, we were only getting into the top 16. They were only playing this to get into the top 24. And if you can't get past this field of teams, then there's no way that you deserve to be, you know, competing in that field of teams. So still early on with Nedic. They did make that change mid-season, but I think that they and probably the Australian community expected them to be able to deliver a little bit more, considering the level of field right there. You have some certain teams, like Metasport was, I can't believe how bad. Fluxo, you watch them play, they had so many rookies, so many young names within that team too. So the expectations for them was very low.
But to be honest, I had the same feeling about Legacy from the beginning. I was like, Jesus, just get them out. And then suddenly they just power up like crazy. I don't know what happened with that team. Like, Lado and Dumao just suddenly decided they're again like that early Godsend team where everybody was talking about them. Oh, that's the future of Brazil. And like suddenly those two guys just power up like crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It was such a big shift.
The other one that I think needs probably a bit of attention is the bottling from Wildcard. Because
what happened? What actually happened there? What actually happened there?
I feel like there was real insufficiencies in their map pool, and they kept kind of going into the same maps. Like, there was a lot of nuke from them, as far as I remember. But then they lose to BetBoom and Legacy like in consecutive fashion in 2-0s. Like, I don't even know how the wheels fell off so badly, because they started strong too. They were the other 2-0 team like FlyQuest who ended up bottling it in the end.
Yep.
And the BetBoom game was
they
close.
both went 2-0 and then ooh.
Yeah, but the difference is
what
with
are
the
the
wildcard
odds?
games, they had a bunch in overtime. Like, they were close on a lot of maps.
The BetBoom game was super close, but it's crazy that two teams go 2-0 and then both get eliminated at the end.
I mean, it's been happening a lot actually in the majors, like that. Both the 2-0 and the 0-2 comebacks. Like, I think every major we've had like 2 of those happen. So it's not too far out of the ordinary these days. I mean, just kind of goes to show about the best of ones and all that, like how much of a how reliable they can be, you know, sometimes. But it's also like, obviously, you just like if a good team goes down there, you know, then the 0-2 comeback, like, fucking look at Falcons' run. What it would have been in the end? They actually would have played like FaZe, which would have been pretty rough, to be honest. Like, even if they beat MIBR, they would have been playing FaZe, which is, you know, That's tough. But they probably should have gone and made the comeback, right?
Yeah, I guess that's really because we're going to talk about the teams that qualified into stage 2 in stage 2 anyway. So otherwise, I guess there was probably a few extra tech issues that had to be ironed out within stage 1, which is standard, right? Day 1, we did have a few more delays to kick things off. The first match didn't start on time and everyone, which with the bingo card that lives in our head, but lives in our hearts, we would have ticked off quite a few of those out the gates.
30 minutes is all it takes for like 5 Reddit threads to spawn about, never give blasted another major. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I don't want to be the back in my day guy, but like, does anybody remember the first like 15 majors or whatever it is? Like literally all of them had like hours of delays at the beginning.
Yeah, some of those were helped by Valve though, thanks to updates.
Well, yeah,
so
that's true.
Shout out to Valve one time. But there's some good things here.
To be honest, like until they decided maybe it's not such a good idea for them to host all the servers without TOs being able to test them and all that stuff, and then just like going into day 1 of the major 10 minutes before the game, you decide or you realize if it's working or not. Yeah, that was maybe not the best idea.
There's some other things in general that I want to bring up. Obviously, they tried the Redzone thing on day number 1. They haven't gone back to that. I think that it's a hard thing to pull off as far as the broadcasting concerns.
I was so confused. Like,
it's just hard to pull off, though. I think
I'm a hardcore viewer that knows the schedule and the teams and everything, and I was so confused about what was going on. I'm like, what stream am I? Like, you turn something on, you move, turn around. There's a different game on. I know there's also best of 1, so the pace is pretty high. But I think like if you want to do something like that, it needs to be like a separate stream and not just like the same people that I see on the main stream are not talking about the B stream game, but then they pull them back and then it switches and then there's a new pair of casters. Then I'm talking about the A stream game again. It was kind of all over the place. So I think you just need like more money to do that and have dedicated people, and then it's probably not worth it. But it was I'm glad they tried something, probably learned something, and maybe we can, take it forward and make it in the future in a better way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I was fine with like when they were trying out the co-stream during Rivals. I was fine with that. I was actually listening in, and it was just like, yeah, classic co-stream vibes. You just have a little bit of fun. You just do stupid shit. You talk about the game just in a very casual way. I mean, people obviously like that, and I actually did too. When it's like people who normally talk about it more seriously, but it's just like they're taking it more casually. That was fun, but this was just taking it to a completely next chaotic level, where it just didn't really work.
I think that the part with that type of a stream is, even if it is like Redzone is a popular format within American sports, but that's normally when there's like a lot of games going on. 2 is kind of manageable, but I think one of the keys is less about the amount of matches. It's more about the way that you show the matches. And also, in my mind, the idea would be that the people who are on the desk for that time, there needs to be more. It needs to be chopping and changing because it's not a cast, right? You need
more
to
of a couch. Also, the setting I feel like was off. Like you're on a desk, it's also the same location where you are later. Yeah. So it needs to be a more like relaxed environment for that as well.
But I think one of the keys is keeping your finger on the pulse of the community. So you're dipping into Twitter constantly, into Reddit constantly, like, oh, there's a thread that says, can Machine and SPUNJ be trusted? And then, you go off on a little diatribe talking about that. And then you dip back in. Well, yeah, just I want to reference this quickly because it's got my attention and it's early, so they can get to me when it's early. It says, because I swear when they were casting the ESL Impact, they sounded exactly the same as they do when they cast normal CS. Hard to take them as genuine people after that. All right, first of all, the Impact final, Alex and I were put in a position where we had to cast that game, and it was the final for the Women's League, right? That's the biggest deal in all of their Counter-Strike. So you have to honor that because that is their biggest match in the context of their Counter-Strike. So,
but that's also one I just like looking at it. Like people are also commenting. My understanding is because it's on the main stage, it just had to be casted from Dallas, right? Because their casters for the rest of the tournament were in Stockholm, and it wasn't going to. It was a different setup for the group stage, which wasn't. There was no audience for it essentially. Yeah,
the thing that happened was on the production call in the lead up to the event, they told Alex and I that they wanted us to cast it. And I immediately objected because that's Lucy and B-Dog's thing. And I was like, well, I don't want to cast, like, that's their thing. I don't want to do their thing. Like, and they said, well, we don't really have a choice. And I said, okay. And then they chipped in and said, but don't worry about it. You'll only be in arena. you won't be going out to broadcast around the world. So Lucy and Brandon will still be casting the final to everybody else. You just do it to the people who are in the arena. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I get it, because of the technical issues. The people in the arena would be getting delayed casting, and that would ruin the viewership experience. And then we get there, and this is a couple of days before it, and they're like, oh, no, you're doing the whole thing now. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, we're going to look like the bad guys. Like, we've just come in to cast the final without doing any of the other games, and then we're expected to, like, deliver this product that for them, like, this is what people need to realize. For Impact, that is their biggest final possible. Put it on the scale of the biggest events in Counter-Strike, and we have to deliver in that of something that, for us, to be honest with everybody, it's tough. That's a hard cast. Like, that's a hard cast to make sure that you give it enough sauce so you don't feel disrespectful, but to not go over the top so people don't make fucking dumb threads like this cunt. It's like, man, what
I guess
what
you
are
didn't strike the balance then. I'm sorry.
It's like, what are we meant to do, right? Just undersell it and pretend like it's fucking mundane and nothing to when this group of people.
Then everyone would just talk shit about you. It's like, Chad and Alex don't give a shit about women's CS.
It's like, man, I can't win in this situation.
No, I already knew it is one of those situations. When I saw this, I'm like, damn, this is rough.
I was like,
there's no winning.
ESL put me in machine in that situation, right? And then we're the ones who get reflected on threads like this. It's like, bro, like, fucking hell, man. Like, I'm trying to please everybody here, and I end up with this shit fucking. And then anyway, I'm not gonna let it all get to me. Like, we can
just
really
this one.
No, but it's like, then this like trust me bros in here, and he's like, SPUNJ shields for human rights violators. What do you expect? It's like, mate, there's so many people out here taking fucking skin gambling sponsors from like dodgy shit. Like, I just work for a tournament organizer, got Richard Lewis framing me as the fucking face of Saudi Arabia. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, I'm just casting Counter-Strike, guys. Like, just fucking relax, everybody, all right? For fuck's sake. Anyway, let's get back to talking about the major, because you got me early. It's fucking 7:30. All right, let's get into the main. So from getting mad about things to can't believe what I saw on my fucking screen. Falcons, I can't even fathom what we saw yesterday.
And the worst part is about it all, okay? Everybody's talking about the 3v5 as if we didn't just see like 100 more rounds from Falcons that were just fucking horrible, like really bad for a team.
It was bad in the whole series. The series of Counter-Strike like was bad.
The entire run. I mean, the OG fucking series, they were like 3 rounds away from elimination, almost throwing like 8-4 and CT side nuke. It's like, how do you manage that against the team like, okay, OG, whatever. And then like, the Inferno game, man. I saw, like when I thought it was already over was like when that round where they snuck through the smoke on the CT on like B from banana to CT. I was like, bro, that is over. Like if they lose that, that's 100% over. In the end, they come back and like you're like, okay, now they've got it. Then you see the 5v3. I literally was looking away from the stream, already like writing the piece of news or whatever, and then I look back and it's like 3v3. I'm like, surely not. And then another one happens, like another one that's like crazy, like fights happening both sides. Falcons have no idea what's happening. MIBR is just like fighting people that they can see because they're just peeking them one by one, and it was such a fucking painful game to watch.
Let's start at the beginning of the story though, right? Obviously, because that Inferno game is the one that is remembered as like the death knock, because that's what it is. But they lost their opening game to Bait, right? Which, to be fair, Bait were playing pretty decent Counter-Strike. Then they went on into the lower bracket and lost to Linvision. So it's like, okay, you lose to Bait. It's the first game. Bait are warmed in. They know the environment. All the pressure is on you, Falcons. And maybe you've just had a shit game, right? And you won both pistols in that map against Bait, and then you still ended up losing in such convincing fashion. And then you go on against Linvision, and then you don't win either pistol, and then you lose, and then you're down in 0-2, and you barely get past OG as well. And I say barely because they lost map number 1. Like,
and it was 10-10 on Nuke.
Yes, they could have lost 2-0. They could have lost. They could have been eliminated from the major without even winning a map. Like, that's how close they were to OG, who had 3 rookies. They had like Krisen, who was doing his absolute best, but you could see the pressure was on this kid as an in-game leader so much. He was really struggling to have any output with frags. Like, he was having a really, really tough time. And you go through all of this, and you're thinking, this is Falcons, right? Where we're in the point, the bigger context, all of this, in case you are just jumping into this podcast for God knows what reason you want to join us three fucking clowns. I guess misery loves company and you're here to be on the downfall of fucking Falcons or something. But they are the second best team currently in the world, or at least they were, because now, hey, this tanks.
Not after this.
Now we don't even know what their roster is going to look like after the tournament break, right? Kiyosuke, all of that. But you come into this major as the second best team in the world. You hung around after Dallas and you stayed in NA to boot camp. That boot camp, the more practice they got worse, right? Remember when they played their first two tournaments? That's when Falcons looked their best. Then after practice, they looked a little bit worse. And then after that, they looked fucking dog shit. Before this, they'd only lost to Vitality and Mouse. And then they lose to Bait, Lin Vision, and fucking MIBR, guys. What are we talking about? Like, you can say, oh, there was pressure because we're expected to do so well, or some of the external factors because we knew we were going to make a roster change after the major. But that's fine if you lose to, I don't know, fucking Mouse or even Na'Vi. But to the teams that you lost to, it is inexcusable. And like Maui's starting this, I don't even know if I want to call it a campaign, but at least conversation about NiKo. And that's one that really has to be had. Does any other Counter-Strike player in the history of the game have a heartbreakingly choke-level major resume as NiKo? Like, there can't be. Even when NiKo lost with FaZe, everybody else in that team went and got theirs other than Guardian, and he's retired, right? Everybody else got theirs. FaZe got it with Carrigan and Rain. Like, they were able to get theirs. Like, I'm watching the game unfold, and it is baffling belief with the rounds that are being lost. Like, even the rounds that are being won. Like, look at Ancient. They won that map, what was it, 13-6? Maybe 13-8? I don't remember the exact scoreline.
Yeah.
It wasn't even good CS. I finished the cast of that map with Alex, and I go, that's worse than some of the B-Stream games we were covering in Stage 1. Like, what are we watching? It was inexcusable. The whole major storyline of Falcons being the team who has been the most competitive against Vitality, which are the kings of Counter-Strike right now, looking to build their era, having a fantastic grand final between the two of them. Monacy on stage, NiKo there, throw-on punches, Mauser in the mix, Spirit are there, Mongols and Aurora. Can they find the form on stage come the major, the tail end of the season after some really good results for national-based teams? Do Na'Vi have anything left in the tank? Just fucking blow it all up. Just Falcons, just shit the bed. Just
you know what's the weirdest part about it? Like all throughout, right? Like obviously Monacy had a terrible start, then he kind of recovered. But even in this last game where like statistically he was good, you could still see he was not doing the things that he would normally do. And it was somehow it's fucking Tesses who looks the most determined to win out of them all. In this team, Tesses is the one who looks like he doesn't give a shit about the pressure. Everybody else, you can see like in moments, they're just making a misstep or they're playing too passively because they're too afraid to make a mistake. Things like this are happening. And then Tesses is the guy who's just like, fuck it, I'll run through a Molotov and I'll kill this guy on A so I can get them this site, and doing all these things. It's not like he played amazingly well and like he got let down, but it's just more like the conviction that he was playing with, that's what you would expect from a team like Falcons, because fucking Monacy and NiKo, right? Like who like which other two players would you want? Like it's even a Monacy who's obviously proven in these like big pressure arena and all that stuff situations, and somehow that's the guy who looks the most convinced that like they can win or like trying to actually do something, that was the weirdest part to me in the entire run. Like from the beginning it was clear that just something was off, and I can't really tell what.
Well, obviously something was off, and you can sit here and you can try and diagnose it. Obviously, we're not in the server, we're not in the team. There are factors which we know could come into play. One of them being the fact that roster changes are rumored to be happening into the tournament break anyway.
Well, that's not the first time. Like, I mean, these guys have been in the same situation. Like NiKo and Monacy literally just had that situation with each other in Shanghai, right? And they. Bro, we even thought they might win the fucking major.
Yes.
In that moment, and they looked like they thought they would win the major, and like obviously it didn't happen. But it's not the first, and I don't think I saw like some people make the same call that like, and we were talking about it last time as well, where a lot of these teams are probably heading into the major knowing there's going to be changes, but like these guys are professionals and these guys do understand like this is our chance to win a major. Like they know that they're in the form. Like, regardless of if you're Tessus or Magisk, can you think, like, maybe this is my last chance? Like, first of all, Magisk has been under that pressure, Like I don't know how many times probably. Like he's proven to be able to deliver under that pressure.
He had his moments
he actually
as
well. He actually did well at the beginning too. Tessas did well, like, and he's the guy who's kind of possibly potentially being replaced. You know, so these two guys who are like actually more the supportive elements are the ones who look pretty good throughout it, and then your stars are just like up and down, kind of having trouble. You know, and that is the weird part to me completely, because it just doesn't compute. It's not how it's supposed to go. You know. Like I would completely understand if it's like Tessas just shits the bed like in the last tournament or whatever, you know, like it's not like the guy has been proven in the heroic team, you know. If anything, they had the exact opposite, you know, kind of reputation to them. So I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah,
I think the hard part for me, Prof, right, when I watched that is especially NiKo in that Inferno game is playing poorly, right? Like, and I'm casting it and I have to critique like superstar levels of players. Like, yeah, that upsets them because they have so many, not the players, the fanboys. Like it upsets people. But like, I don't know if you were listening to my casting. I would mute me too, if I'm completely honest. I like to watch in CSTV. Shout out to CSTV one time. But like, was I being too critical of like NiKo and m0NESY's shortcomings?
Bro, no, not at all, to be honest. Like
I didn't get that vibe at all.
I honestly get annoyed when people don't call out when someone's having a bad game. Like even a not a star level player of NiKo's m0NESY's caliber, if someone is going like 0-7 on a map and they're playing an important CT rotation position, you should say like this guy's not doing anything for his team. You know, that's just how it is. And honestly, I listened with sound on, and I think it was an amazing cast. I even tweeted it. You probably didn't see, but I thought it was really great because also the Inferno as Inferno and the way it was played out was kind of boring as fuck in the way that you just end up with saving half the time. But you did a good job of like building the narrative with all that dead time that you have, because otherwise it's like, okay, 2 entries. Now it's like 1 minute of dead time, essentially. So just talking about that, I think you need to critique them. And realistically, like, I mean, what Maui is saying, he pulled out a clip from like 2 years ago or something. And it is also a clip that we had on Confirmed like 2 months ago or something, when I was talking about how they lost in Melbourne, how they lost again the next Vitality Grand Final of Blast Rivals, right? There is something between, especially for NiKo, but also now m0NESY with him. They have this shared legacy of just fucking up things they shouldn't, you know, and things not going that well. And that FaZe game in Shanghai, I was actually like on the side of like NiKo was just really unlucky in that game. In this game, he was just in the overtime, he kind of got back into it, but for the whole regulation, he was just bad. Like he wasn't making plays. He was more setting up kicks on B for fights, which is fine. But then when the fights came to him, that's where he usually gets kills. He was not even super late in some rounds that they didn't even lose. He would fail aim duels. It's like, what? This is the simplest kill. This is stuff that NiKo needs to be getting, and you need to rely on him. Like, he is that guy. And earlier in the tournament, he was doing that. The game against LinVision, I was rewatching a bit before he went live. They would literally send like 4 people outside. NiKo would be solo outside getting kills. Yeah. And the rest of the team was failing. Like m0NESY was failing. The inside hold or like ramp was kind of a liability. He was doing everything throughout this tournament. That's why also when people are like, oh, it's his fault. Like, it's his fault on Inferno a good degree, like just in terms of the in-server performance that they lost on Inferno. Everything else was, I don't think it was, all the other maps, I don't think were his fault. But, you know, at the end of the day, he is that player that in that 5v3, even though he didn't do anything wrong, I feel like someone needs to fucking step up and call what people are doing, because you just win that 5v3, and then we don't have this whole conversation. If like two people communicate, if they communicate and fucking do something together, because what they're doing there's no synergy at all. And I was like, I know it's fast, but that's also Pro CS. Pro CS is fucking fast. You need to just do something. I was rewatching it and going back and forth and like slowing it down. I'm like, I'm really curious what the communication was in some of these. Like, who were people even talking, or were they not talking? Because it seems like there's kind of a plan. Maybe people are panicking and, you know, overcoming oh, someone's coming, fucking ruins, and then people are turning around instead of just playing anything, like any safe kind of. There's no crossfires. There's 5 guys just dying one by one.
Well, like originally, like if you see that screenshot, like the moment where it's 5v3, right? And you're like, it is impossible. Like they're set up properly, like everything's right. There's a guy like at the half wall. Monacy's covering him, right? There's 2 people like behind the whatever it's. I call it 4, but I know that's not what it's called. Like behind the dark. Yeah. There's 2 people there. One guy is in water, right, or in pool, or yellow, or like people call it. And you're like, everything is a crossfire. Like whoever takes contact, you will get a crossfire in that moment, and like it all falls apart anyway. Like it is impossible. It was an impossible situation to lose.
But there's in no world is there any reason to swing Breno coming up banana, right? So I guess Tessus does it, I guess, because he's trying to protect Monacy. But then Monacy misses what would traditionally be a Monacy sitter, and then Kixon dies, and then the 2 players are in the worst spot, doubling dark. It's like, what? Why are we in this situation? And I reckon in that scenario, they are so confident that the round is over that everybody makes a mistake, and then those mistakes just cascade on top of each other.
Because like even if you look at the post plant, it's like Magisk.
Magisk is back at dark. Kixon
Magisk is planting. Magisk is planting.
Oh
in fountain. Kixon is in new box, but Amali comes to new box. So Kixon is moving over to the single, like the pillar. NiKo is in dark.
Yeah.
And Magisk plants and then starts spamming. I think he actually gets a kill through the CT smoke, and then just stays there. So there are 3 guys now in 1 square meter with NiKo, Kixon, and Magisk. And then Kixon is like, okay, this is stupid. So then he crosses over to yellow, almost dies, because a guy from the smoke on the ruins is just clearing. So he almost dies there already, but he gets to yellow. And now the CT smoke is kind of clearing, and someone, I guess, is calling like, oh, they're going to push CT. So Monacy, who wants to kill Breno together with Tessus, turns around, and now Tessus is like, okay, now I'm kind of stuck here. Now I have to swing for this. So it's just like all of these, and of course, Breno just fucking nails 4
but
guys.
But it's even the players in the back of the site, right? Like, if you have a 5v3, you don't have to play like pussies. Like, I'm not saying everybody swing. Like, get on top of the...
Kixon is swinging CT, and the 2 guys in the backside are not doing anything. So, like...
But get on top of the box at the back of dark, right? Stand on there. When you come out of coffins, that's such a hard angle to clear, right? Like, that's not an easy angle to... Like do something. Don't just... Like, it was just... Obviously, it's bad overall, and that's the one that stands out. But they lost another 5v3, and they were on the T side. Like
2 rounds later, man.
They lost so many bad rounds. And, like, I saw this. This is from B-Trams, which is smart backwards. So he does some stat stuff. Now, he did tweet... now, there was a correction that he gave to this, right? So I want to read it out, and then I'll read the correction. He said, the 1817 MIBR retake against Falcons was... Now, make sure you temper this because the correction is necessary. The first successful Inferno B site retake with a 3v5 disadvantage. The 4th successful Inferno B retake with a 2-man disadvantage in Tier 1 events this year. Now, he put out a correction because he had to go back through the data. It's the 4th successful Inferno B retake with a 2+ man disadvantage, right? Still, put that in context. It is, in this year so far, it is only the 4th retake of the B bomb site with a 2+ man disadvantage. Even if it's not 1, even if it's not 2, only 4. Think about how many Infernos. It's been the most played map at the Major so far. Only 4, right? It is so hard to retake on that map. That's why we see all the saves. And they end up losing that scenario. And we're talking about the retake. Let's talk about the CT sides. They did nothing.
I would just say one thing to that. Like, as much as it looks horrible and all that stuff, there are very few rounds that actually do end up in an attempt of those, because I doubt that there's been 81 like real attempts of a 3v5 retake on B or whatever, like in Tier 1 this year. There's just no world where that's true. Like, probably I'll throw out a number like 90% of that is probably
pure saving. Yeah. People don't even go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so, like, this stat, like, as much as, of course, like, when it's the first one, I'm sure that it's happened where it was in a position where that team had to go for it, right? And there had to have been, whatever it is, 10% of those in that data set, and it's still really bad. And obviously, like, looking at the situation is horrible. But, like, the stat is a bit, like, you really need to go deeper to understand, like, how unlikely it is, let's say, because we don't really see like 3v5 retakes attempted.
I think just the face value of it is those type of rounds, especially on a map like Inferno, are meant to be unlosable, right? Like the amount of crossfires that you can set
that's why
up.
people save now, because it is like it is impossible. Like you're so far out of like you're so far out. You don't have the time. You don't have the utility. Probably it's like all small choke points, all that stuff. That's why Inferno is the way it is. Like it is just really difficult to do.
Yeah,
I know. I was sitting down and then I was standing up. Then I was like in the TV during that round. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was actually watching. People can find there's like a compilation of like co-streamer reactions, and it's vibes. Like everyone's saying the same thing. It's like GG. Everyone's calling it GG. Everyone is calling it. It's supposed to be.
It should be GG. Like
but
I think go bro.
Yeah, I just want to kind of circle back. I just feel like the team really needs to get their shit together, but as a team, like in these sort of situations, we can't have you can't all shut down. Like that's just a problem. And I think people pointed it out. If you go and watch the no comments videos that we make, like it's Tessus and Magisk that are the guys that are trying to keep like the spirits of this team alive, which is, first of all, again, I don't really expect Magisk to be that guy in general.
He's always been that guy, to be fair. He's the funny guy too. In Astralis and all that stuff as well. Like he was always very like
in terms of all of these players and where Tessus is and what like his experience is, and like he's after that the second map, he's just like laughing. He's laughing it off. He's like, what a fucking game we're playing. Or was it an overtime even on Inferno or something? He's kind of relaxing this tension that's building up, and that's like, I know Striker took a little jab over there, but it is a part of the whole, how's your IGL handling the pressure? How's your star player? What's your coach doing? What's your mental preparation like? And you can say whatever you want about best of ones. Oh no, it's a bit unlucky, a lot of pressure. Yeah, of course there's a lot of pressure. You're the fucking big team that's buying all the big pieces, that's flying business class, has a facility in fucking wherever it is, somewhere in the US, has a facility in Europe, has a facility everywhere, has a foot massager, has 3 mental coaches and an analyst. What do you want? It's like that meme. I don't know. You probably don't know, but there's this Spanish guy that's like, there's a clip of someone like missing an empty goal in football, and then the guy goes on, it's like, you sleep in the best beds, 500 euros for socks, massage this, jersey, 1,000 euros so you don't sweat. That's how I feel. Like, don't give me these excuses. What kind of mental coach does Lin Vision have? What kind of preparation did they have for that best of one?
Gum's name.
They didn't know who they were gonna play. They just showed up and played, and they played better than you. So just fuck off.
Shut the fuck up.
But this is the thing, right? They've got all the money in the world, like almost literally. They can have everything that they want. Mate, how much of a mistake does it look to stay in boot camp in the US? Looks like the biggest mistake in the history of the fucking world. m0NESY getting sloppy after just farming some North American noobs and face it. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, iron sharpens iron, and you're out there with, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, mate. Like, dropping 48 kills against guys who only overpick. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the thing is,
by the way, random, like completely random, but it was against Energy, was it? I think it was Lin Vision against Energy, or was it? No, it might have been Tyloo, no? In that moment, I just want to get this right. I know it was Lin Vision because it was Call Me Sue who was talking about this. Who was like talking about like complete tangent. I'm sorry, like very very out of topic. But after they beat Energy, like he said something like, they were completely readable, and like this guy at 1 minute always does this, like every single round. And you're like, how is this a pro team, bro? Like, how does a pro team like have the same exact move every single round? Like this guy just leaves at 1 minute every single time. Like there's no exception. And you're like, okay. But
this is the thing with Falcons, right? And there was a turn of phrase that I know Alex and I both like that Dupree used, and it's like, they essentially the sentiment is like they default, and then the game talks to them, right? Or the round talks to them. I forget the exact verbiage that he used, but essentially with the defaulting, like you're reacting, like we always talk about, to the stuff that's happening on the map. That is the biggest problem I have with Falcons, and it was probably the same issue with G2, even with the snacks generation. It's what Hooksy was likely trying to avoid, is you have these star players who like to call their own shots, but it's based off them being able to default their way into rounds, which means if they don't make their plays and they don't make their calls and they don't hit their shots, then you won't win the round. It's not the call that's getting you in. It's the players who are making the moves. You're putting the trust in them. And that's what fell apart here as well, right? Because take a look at this. I saw Mytha make a tweet regarding this, and I was saying it during the cast. The CT side from both of those teams was dog shit. At least I'll respect the fact that MIBR went for gamble stacks because they knew they had the advantage. And if Safe didn't whiff that fucking shot from short side, it would be over. It would be over. They took some gambles that almost paid off, whereas Falcons did nothing. They didn't fight for banana control. They barely had any map control whatsoever. And MIBR were playing like a team who wanted to win, and Falcons were playing like a team who were trying not to lose. MIBR started clearing out late once they were getting into overtime, deeper in the game. They were making moves. They were making plays. Shout out to Breno. That's his first major. He was the X-Factor fucking player in Inferno. The amount of big boy moments that he had of multi-kills or rounds where he slipped and pipped the gap. And he was a gun, right? He is the reason that MIBR won that map. And he fucking was bringing the energy too. Whereas Falcons were doing nothing. And this is the thing. You go in as the favorite and you think to yourself, we can just default and win. You have to set the tone. We're not talking about baby's first Counter-Strike. Everybody at this level is for the same thing. Everybody wants to win. They don't give a fuck who you are. And especially after I see Bait and Linvision beat you, I know that you're beatable. OG take a map off of you, I know that I can fucking take you down. The pressure is on. You're feeling it. And right there, because of what Prof pointed out, all that money, right? The stacks of cash, you're getting paid shitloads. I reckon all those teams that we just said, combine the amount of money that those players get. It's not even fucking close. And I'm normally not the guy talking about the cash money. This is just ridiculous, right? The major was set up. The whole season was leading towards having the 4 best teams being able to lock horns in the playoffs, show some head-to-head in the group stage of stage 3, and then go in and have the 4 best teams, and then hopefully Aurora, hopefully Mongols, and then you can grab the other 2 spots. I don't give a fuck who they are. And then we can have a sick playoff. But it's like you come in and you shit the bed. Like, Nero makes a comment, right? At this point, the randomness of majors is a feature, not a bug.
I had this one, yeah.
What do you think of this statement?
I think it's bullshit.
He's a numbers guy. He's a numbers guy.
It's like, bro, is this your first major? Like,
it's not random. They lost.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. If every major is random, then it's not random. Like, because the fact is, majors do have a lot more pressure. And whatever we want to say about, like, oh, you know, the prize pool is the same at PGL Bucharest and the format is better over there. You can't compare a PGL. What it means to the players, the pressure that it creates a different game. And it's not, this is not just, you know, fucking rolling dice on a even playing field 1,000 times and then we can see who is better because I have better dice. So over 1,000 times I'm going to win. Like that's not competition. That's not Counter-Strike at a major. It's not a fucking World Cup in football. And it's not anything, you know, it's, when you get to these levels, the pressure and what it means affects everything. And no one plays. That's why also Arena Counter-Strike is not group stage Counter-Strike. It's not. Like the way you see the games evolve is like, can be completely outside of the playbook of what is supposed to happen because individuals are not doing the exact same thing that they do in a group stage. And then you can't really do the game plan. And you have these CT sides where people just are running over, you know, a classic Cloud9, Nafani lineup that can't do shit in a playoff game, right? It's not the same. So for me, it's just a very silly statement. It's a very silly statement. I understand where he's coming from, but this is why it is so important. That's why NiKo, one of the best players of all time, does not have a major because he, on paper, deserves to have a major. He has the resume, the skill, the teams, the overall results. He should have a major. He doesn't. And that's why it does matter so much.
Yeah, can't perform when it matters most. Now, there's a lot of reactions coming out yesterday. My favorite is one from Zorty on Telegram.
I guess you saw our live post that we ran afterwards.
Yeah. That one, you won't even see this in bet boom matches. If that doesn't say it all, I don't know what will. Because there is so much going on the internet with that. That's one of the games where everybody's tuning in, and there's a lot of hate watching going on, which is fine, right? It doesn't matter why you're watching, as long as you got a reason to watch. and that the amount of reactions coming out of there were insane. Now, do we want to go through some of these? Because we've spent about 40 minutes talking about this. It is obviously the biggest story.
I mean, we can talk about this for 2 hours and just end. Yeah, I don't mind, to be honest.
Okay, so where did you see us pivoting right now, Prof?
I have maybe another one before we go into the reactions. I have a legitimate question and
a legitimate one. Okay.
A legitimate question. All of these before were illegitimate, just like your children, Chad.
If people want to say I'm a bad guy, it's probably that reason, right? The children that I don't know I have. Other stuff, guys, just come on now.
Is this result a fireable offense for zonic? This is the question. I'll put it out there. I think it's something that's worth discussing.
I suppose can I count? I guess I'll counter with another question.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
If it's not, what would be?
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well, right? Because it's not just like, oh, they didn't win the major. But this result is like, this is horrible. Like, we are talking about this as one of, if not the biggest major underperformance. Like, I didn't go back. It just happened last night. A lot of things. I need to go back and see if
For me, the biggest is G2 not making Rio 2022.
Yeah. I guess
be up there.
I guess that would be, but I feel like they even played better teams. I feel like they played better teams. I'll go back and see Rio RMRs.
But also, I'm like trying to put G2 in that moment, and this is like just before they won the 3 tournaments or whatever.
Still, they
and like
didn't even qualify for the major.
Yeah, of course. But at the time, I mean, it's also hard to compare because at the time this would have been, they just got straight invite. Like now, everybody got straight invited. Anybody that matters, so it's kind of hard to compare those situations.
But do you notice it's the same thing, though, Striker?
160-0 the first game with the RMR.
It's not them. It's them not playing like the game. I know that seems like the most fucking shit statement, but like then I remember back then too. The game was coming to them. They weren't grabbing the game by the horns.
Did you guys say that, or who said that? Like that was
there was fucking 42 rounds of Counter-Strike. I don't know. I said a lot of things.
I just saw somebody say the line like you're playing the round, or like that was NiKo actually afterwards, or just before the game, or something like that. Like it felt like the rounds were playing us and we're not playing the rounds, and that was interesting because that was before the game happened, because that was like the pre-interview with Freya, and the same shit happened in the MIBR game. They just let things come to them.
I want to give a shout out to Kickson because he was one of the players in that Inferno game who I thought was still actually playing like to win the game.
Yeah.
Like with the type of plays that he was having to make.
I also same thing with like I know that somebody gave him props for coming on the stream for the elimination one. NiKo did like 3 interviews post the game. Like the guy who's obviously going to be under the most amount of criticism and why and all that stuff, and he
professional
gave us just to US and somebody else, I can't remember who. I think he gave a couple of interviews, which is, I mean, considering fucking before that zonic and I don't want to say the other one just in case I'm wrong, but zonic and somebody denied, and then NiKo does it, and you're like, well, that says a lot, no?
Yeah, it is hard to get to the root of your question though, Prof, because I don't know, like, I know that there's a community level of expectation. Then there is like a realistic level of expectation. Then there's also like all the other things to factor in. I just think where they found themselves and where they're meant to be. Let's say that they lost in a 2-2 game in stage 3. That's a different story that we're having than the one that we're having right now. And it's really like, if you just look at the list of teams that they lost to, and this isn't to be disrespectful to those teams, they're all playing some very good Counter-Strike, and they're all here to win the major, and they want it just as bad as others.
Looking at the thing as a whole, right? Like everybody's focused down on the 3v5. Like, okay, every team will have a situation like that, not in that situation, not in that position, and all that stuff. But every team will fuck up a round that's like really bad. In isolation, it's fine. The problem is it all compounds, and and what happened to Falcons in this whole stage, it was not just like one Inferno game that went wrong. It was not just even one series that went wrong, one round or whatever. No, it was the entire fucking run that looked terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I don't know what should happen or will happen. I guess, Prof, you asked the question.
Yeah.
What do you think should happen?
I think your counter question is exactly how I was thinking about it. It's like, if this is an acceptable result, then everything is an acceptable result. And there is no reason to ever do anything. That's how I feel about it from the outside, right? Obviously, we know that Kyosuke is coming in, and that has some effects, and they're like, maybe they don't have the exact lineup that they want, but like, I'm still really struggling to justify how they played, and both, as you said, both how they played and the result combined together, and the opposition and everything is just, I don't know what else you can do to give it a nice reset. And like, if you follow any competitive sports, this is kind of the situation where usually the coach he's kind of the scapegoat to some degree, but it's not just like scapegoating to move blame, but also to move away from the mistake, the bad vibes that are created. So I'm not even saying, it's Zonic's fault, because I have no idea.
How much control can you have as a coach in those moments when your team is losing 5v3s? Like, that's not on Zonic. But obviously they're all under immense pressure. And this is the thing, like, when the critique is, you sold out, you took the bag, you're doing that in pursuit of the victory, especially if you're NiKo still chasing this
the way
major
you shut
trophy.
up people is just by winning, and then they become your fans, and that's how it was in Dallas, right? People are chanting Falcons all the time because they have NiKo and Monacy, and they have good players, and everyone wants to see them, and that's it.
Yeah, look, I don't know what's going to happen with the roster. Obviously, the changes we keep talking about, but we'll see what happens on the other side of the break, because this is another one that's just fucking tough.
Yeah, I mean, it kicks in effect that they confirmed it, that there's going to be some news soon or whatever that he said, like, post-game on the broadcast as well, So, like, it's true. Everything that's been out there is true, at least to some degree, right? And as I said at the beginning, I don't really think it matters. I really don't think it matters so much. Like, this is a major, and if you're going to a major, like, fucking Cloud9 went into a major as a dead team and somehow made it happen, right? Like, of course, they didn't expect to be that competitive, but they won a major as a completely dead team. Like, everybody straight after the major, even things like problems kept cropping up. Within months, that team was dead. But they won the major. Of course, it was a fluke. Of course, but it doesn't matter. It is a major. Like, that's just how it happens.
There's obviously a lot of like conversations and reactions from people. Like, Steel got involved. He replied to one of your tweets, Milan. He said, I wouldn't put it all on pressure when they have such shit fundamentals, protocols, and map strategy. I think that comes down to like wanting to let the stars lead the way, which makes it harder for Kixon to be able to actually call a comprehensive game. And then if his players don't deliver, then you're having to like be able to be a genius within the middle of a game at like a 4-4 scoreline, and that's not easy.
I would say though, like, that Inferno, like, actually, I think the calling was good
on the T side.
Like, it got it
was just risk adverse, right? Aversive, not. They just weren't playing for early map control. They did like on 1 or 2 rounds, but it was the CT sides for both of the teams that were the problems. At least in my mind.
That you said what? Sorry. At the end.
The CT sides were the problem for both of them. The T side, the T side was just default and risk averse. They just were not giving away an opening kill early banana and not taking any damage.
But that's the thing, like, and it was not even just that they went B at the right moment, so whatever like that. But like they pulled off like some fakes, or like they pulled a rotation, and then went B, and like at the exact right moments, they just took the peek into the B side, right? And all this stuff, like, everything actually felt like they got everything right in that T side run, right? But then CT side was the problem, like, as you say, on both sides.
But we're not even talking about like Nuke goes under the rug, but Nuke needs to be levied into this conversation as well. They lost the first half of their map choice, right? Their map choice. Let that sink in. It's not a basin. 10-2. 10-2. Yeah. They lost some abysmal rounds. There was one that the clutch that Monacy lost against Breno was fucking whack as shit.
Yeah. I mean, they even lost like I think the 2 rounds might even be somewhat nice to them, because they, like, in 4 of those rounds where they look competitive, it started out as like a 3v5, and like MIBR just like threw a bunch of advantages, to even give them a chance, and they got themselves on real low economy, so like they gave Falcons kind of a chance to get back into it, but they just kept winning all the clutches anyway. There's like 5 clutches that went the way of MIBR in that map as well. So, but most of those started in like a 3v5 for Falcons, where they just had to come back into it, and then just like NiKo and Magisk in the lower side and all this, like there was a lot of rounds that could have gone differently, but from the beginning, like, it actually looked much more convincing for MIBR even.
I mean, Pimp was pointing out some like failed retakes on Nuke, and like bad team play, and I think the same happened in the Lin Vision game. I was like, there's this round where West Melon is on top of the little silo on B, like the mini whatever.
Yeah.
And they have like 3 people coming from single door, and Kixon coming from ramp, and Kixon peeks first, dies, and then the 3 guys coming from the smallest choke point available on the whole map, and then he kills like 2 more guys there. It's like, how does this even make sense? Like, this is some basic stuff, send these guys first, or jiggle peek, don't overcommit. They do just on the middle of everything. He was literally on top of the fucking silo. Like, there's so many ways you get that kill. You don't get the kill, everything falls apart. You lose like a 4v2, I think, even in that round. It's crazy. There's a lot of like basics missing, and I don't think we spoke about Monacy a lot, but he was horrible in the first 3 maps. First 3 maps, like, he woke up in that OG game on Nuke, where
That's right. He was tanking, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was destroying them there, and he saved them practically. That was a super, super close game. Before that, 0-7 rate. Like, he was whiffing, he was getting the op, he was missing. Like, actually, on Nuke, he was rifling a lot, and just like in the T side, getting some like important trades and stuff like that. He was completely off. Like, that's nowhere near the level that he is supposed to be at.
Aren't Inferno and Nuke like the 2 maps that like NiKo has lost the most heartbreaking games of his career on as well? Like FaZe, Boston.
I mean,
obviously.
A lot of Infernos.
Navi, Stockholm, right? That was one of them.
Nuke more recently as well, with the 12-6 scoreline they had against Vitality. Like, that's mega recent. They choked that one. They could have won that. That could have done a lot.
To be fair, there are those kinds of maps, like, because you need to be so. Like, first of all, Inferno, we know what it's like, and it's been like that for forever. You just get the right entry on one side, and the round is over. Like, if you just keep making the wrong decisions, like which side you stack and all that stuff, like if the other team just guesses right on 3 of those occasions, the map is kind of over for you. But then Nuke is the one where like you just really have to be on point with all your rotations, and like that's where like really minute decisions make all the difference, and so you have to be completely locked in to win those maps. I don't think it's possible for Mirage to be like a choke heavy map or whatever you want to say, because you have so much space. Like, whatever you want to do, you can, like, you will always find some way to open it up. Same thing with Dust 2, right? Like, it's such a fairly simplistic map. You can just run a fairly simple strat and it could work 50% of the time. It's not going to be too big of a problem, right? And all that, so I think it's just those kinds of maps are always going to be like difficult to close on,
It's so crazy to me. It's like, okay, so you have 2 of like the strongest T-side weapons in the game of Monacy and NiKo, and you ban Anubis, the most T-sided map in the pool. Like, it's like a map with just an aim as paradise. Now let's play the most technical map, shall we? The ones that require the most teamwork and understanding of things.
I saw a lot of people were like talking about the Lars thing and like what I tweeted, and I think that was somewhat misunderstood, because
can you read it though? Just because it's important for our audio only listeners.
Yeah, that's just a nice callback to EPL or whatever it was. So I said, I, for one, would like to see performance staff take responsibility for the bad stuff for once, especially when Falcons failed at what the psych staff should be responsible for, which is dealing with the pressure. And I think, people took it as if I'm just blaming the performance staff for all of it, which is absolutely not the case. Again, like, once you get down to that 5v3, like, do you think that, like, there's no way that performance staff has anything to do with how they actually played out that situation? They might have to do something with, like somebody actually taking charge of that situation and, like making sure that they close it. But that's my point, right? Like, it's not just that one round that went wrong. It is the entire run. And like, pressure was clearly a factor, a big factor for them. and that's not what they dealt with right. But the point was like, my point was more that you just generally don't see these people in the back room or whatever take any responsibility for when things go wrong. But when they're fucking the Bucharest win, that's like the clip that like that sparked the Lars Robel interview I did in Rivals and all that stuff, because you can see them constantly taking credit whenever things go right. Oh, like trust the process and all this stuff. Like whenever things go right, it's always like this was the
plan all along.
In some way the plan, or this was in some way like our guys dealt with the pressure so well. They were down 0-2, but we never stopped believing. Well, guess what? You were down 0-2 and you fucked up this time. How does that make sense? How come they didn't do all the things that you taught them to do or whatever it is, So it's like, that's just my point, like where the lack of responsibility taking from some of these people when things do go badly, and when you can definitely make the case that something that they were responsible for went wrong, and then you never hear anything about that, So that was more what I was calling for, and it's not necessarily just about Lars, even though like obviously we had this kind of a clip from last time, but it's in general, like I just never see that from any team staff, unless it's like directly the coach or something. Like a coach will say something like that, but it's never somebody who's like a performance coach or things like that,
Yeah, like for me on that side of things, I imagine they obviously do something, but like what do they actually do?
Like, obviously we can't know what the impact is, even for a lot of things, right? It's not even just performance coaching and all this psych stuff and all this. It can be coaching in general. Like all we know about coaches sometimes is what people tell them about us, and it's the same with a lot of this backroom stuff, right? But then maybe don't take credit when
no, exactly.
When you don't know whether like what you did was actually what made the difference and all that stuff, because we can't know. We can't know.
Social media is no good for me, let alone boomers like that. You know what I mean? So it's like people should just not be on the internet. It's probably the best way to deal with half this shit. Now, look, this NiKo and Monacy major results together is kind of a fun condemnation as well. So let's work backwards. Blast Austin, 20 to 22nd. Perfect World Shanghai Major, 3rd to 4th. PGL Copenhagen, 3rd to 4th. Blast Paris, 12th to 14th. IAM Rio didn't qualify. PGL Antwerp, 9th to 11th. It somehow had a good patch in the middle and then got worse. So that's bad for what is one of the best duos in Counter-Strike at the moment. I also want to bring up Maui's tweet, and a lot of people think that like, oh yeah, Maui just wants to go out there and give a hot take, but I actually think some credence should be given to this. Biggest choker in major history. That's obviously levied at NiKo. Can anybody name anybody else who would fit into that category?
Thing is, you need to be really good to be able to choke a lot, right? That's because otherwise you just don't get anywhere. So no one's going to remember you as a choker. But I don't really know who else to put in the same category, right? That because also if you look at people that haven't won majors, like people that haven't won majors, it's like
Guardian. It's
NiKo, Guardian, then put maybe Elige as like the greatest that haven't won.
Yeah.
There's no one else even close, and the other two, I think for Guardian, you can't even say that even the FaZe game, FaZe Cloud9, I don't think he was choking. I think he was playing very well that game overall. So I wouldn't levy it towards him. And then he just became bad, unfortunately. Didn't really have opportunity to do more of that. And Elige, I mean, also hasn't been even close. And I don't even know, what even would be the last big one.
The only person or the only two people that have had similarly bad experiences at majors would be Kerrigan and Rain. One of them obviously together from back at E-League, but like since then, they've played
Shanghai,
3 more
Copenhagen.
finals. One of them they won, 2 of them they lost, and they were like rounds away from having like 4 like they're literal, like I think the combined like 10 rounds away from having 4 majors together.
Crazy,
or something stupid like
Jesus.
that, when they've won 1. So like that's the only people that I would like. I wouldn't call them chokers though. Like obviously they got to the final, and in in one of them, Shanghai, nobody thought they would. Like at that point, I don't think people thought that they would actually be there. So that's also another thing. And it was like the massive comeback, right? That maybe wasn't supposed to even happen in the first place, and it's just like the last round that went wrong. So it's like, I wouldn't put that in the same category either.
It's a lot to ponder. All right. Well, we probably will dip in and out of this Falcons conversation a little bit more. Let's head to an ad break, please, Lucas. We'll come back. We're going to talk about some of the other Stage 2 results. We'll do some pick'ems, which means assumptions have to be made about today's final games for Stage 2. We'll do a Skinionaire, we'll do a Fix Your Sit, and maybe a little bit of recent news if we have the time. Thank you for listening to us spew onto the internet about Falcons. Be right back, everybody.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
All right, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to keep the show rolling along. So there's obviously been other results. Who would have thought? This is the grand final just happened, and Falcons lost to Vox Eminor in 2014 or something.
We still have fucking Stage 3 coming up. Like, we haven't even seen Vitality, Spirits, and Mouse play, bro.
Bro, Vitality didn't even arrive to Austin. Falcons are already packing up, so make of that what you want.
Yeah, I
also,
did see Donk rock up yesterday.
Yeah.
Kids in the building.
This now this part of the show feels like how I feel like you must have felt yesterday, Chad, because you did that whole fucking game, triple overtime, huge storyline, like emotional release, and then it's like, oh yeah, we have another game coming up, which is not even an elimination game. So I was kind of watching that. I was like, this ain't doing it for me anymore. Like,
there's obviously a change of stakes, isn't there?
Yeah,
you know?
It's like complete drop, but you still, obviously it's a good game and it's important and everything, but it's just such a,
it wasn't a great game, to be honest. I don't know.
Cataclysmic shift of everything.
Yeah, maybe we can just start there, I guess. So we've had Virtus Pro, Legacy, 3D Max, Furia, and Pain. So great to get 3 Brazilian teams, especially for the region as far as Budapest next time round is concerned. So the North Americans are going to be happy with a little bit of extra representation going into Stage 3, and they can still get MIBR today. But the 3D Max versus FaZe game, obviously there was a lot of hype around FaZe. They're in a 2-2 match later today. The last game of the day, I believe it is.
It goes to MIBR.
Yeah, they started very strong, right? They had that really fun match with all the shit talk where they absolutely owned HEROIC.
Man, everybody thought how fucking amazing FaZe is coming into this major.
Yeah, and then they took on Tyloo.
For now.
They took on Tyloo. That was also another like single digit owning. That was a 13-5, I believe. This is it's off the top of the dome, so if I'm wrong, someone correct me. And then they get to play a 2-0 match against Legacy, who the team not meant to be here, who took down MIBR, then 3D Max on the run, and got 2-0'd by Legacy. And then they go into today against 3D Max, who are one of the teams who I think should have been a quote-unquote shoe-in from Stage 2 to Stage 3. And then they lose 2-0 again. So they've lost after 2 best-of-1s. Turns out they're the best-of-1 merchants. They've lost 4 maps on the trot. And they didn't look convincing again at all yesterday, really. It's, again, not to detract from their opponents. It's just the level of expectation on these other names. A 13-8, 13-9. And the rounds that they were winning on Nuke were like just somebody getting a multi-kill.
I mean, Kerrigan and Frozen, like the back-to-back rounds are literally the only thing that went right for them. It could have been even worse than that.
And then even on Inferno, you can almost post most of their rounds as like multi-kill scenarios. Against the first Force, Frozen gets a triple kill with an MP9, and then they still go down to a 1v1. The next round where they buy back in again, it's not a full buy. Elige has to get like a refrag-esque spray down from the back of the site. Then they only end up with after a 5-1 start, 6 rounds within the half. On the T side, nothing, just simple last alive in like 3 or 4 consecutive rounds, trying to clutch out number disadvantaged situations, getting farmed by gravity and exercise. So yeah, that was a bit, I guess, disappointing, because if there was any hype around FaZe, I guess it's gone. Do you guys still think there's any chance that they, first of all, make it, and then second of all, are even worth it?
Good question. I mean, considering they're playing MIBR, who, you know, also got to give it to them. They played some good Counter-Strike overall. Like, I know it's not going to be a 40-minute segment like on Falcons, but obviously, for obvious reasons. And anyone that expects us to talk about it the same way, kind of delusional. So let's just move on from that. Yeah, I mean, they played really good. I feel like that Falcons game could have been done much sooner. If they started choking towards the end as well. Like, just individually, you could see it in their just duels that they were taking when Falcons started coming back on Inferno. It's just like, you're in some situations where you're supposed to get the kill, you're not. Like, that safe round is a classic example of just massive whiff that run just gets out of control. But yeah, for FaZe, considering they stomped 3D Max the last 2 times I watched it, I was like, this is going to be kind of the same, but I don't know really what changed. Because usually this is the last 2 times they played 13-0, 13-5, 13-1, 13-7. I mean, what changed? Brokey was there, who is a massive tier 2 farmer, to be honest. This is one of those opponents that he just enjoyed playing against so much. Not so much for Simple, didn't show much. Also, Kerrigan was horrible individually in many of the rounds I saw on Inferno. Just couldn't get a single kill on a hold kind of thing, and rough, not super convincing, but also limited viewing of FaZe from my side to some degree.
I think the other thing is, right, obviously we only had Dallas where Skulls was standing in, and Skulls may as well have been Neo, right? If we're going to be honest with the way that Skulls performed.
Yeah.
They may as well just use the coach. Might have been better vibes. So this is the first event we're actually seeing them with Rain and Simple. And, you know, there's obviously a little bit more confidence there because we like what Rain can deliver in the most important matches. And with how it started, it's great. And there's no reason that they can't turn it around. Yesterday was the first Inferno and first Nuke that we had seen from them. Otherwise, what did they play? They played Mirage. What else did they play so far? I was checking it out yesterday. Sorry, everybody. Again, it's still early. Let me just bring it up here. Just get all the maps so we know exactly where we are. So they've only played 6 maps together since having Simple and Rain officially. It's all been at the majors so far. Dust 2, they played twice, 1-1, lost 1. They won Anubis. They lost Inferno, lost Nuke. So yeah, they've had a mixed bag of maps for sure. It'd be interesting today because Anubis is in the map pool against MIBR. So you're going to see really what FaZe want to go to as the ban, which I imagine will probably be Train. MIBR is going to remove Dust 2, which really sucks for FaZe because that looked like more comfortable territory for them. It's a place where you can unleash the likes of Simple. And I think that yesterday when MIBR didn't have anywhere to go in the veto, right, their map pool, when you lined it up against Falcons, was dog shit. They literally had to pick Ancient into them, and they had like a 25% win rate at the time. It's now down to 20%. There might actually be places for MIBR to go today. So that's a very winnable game for MIBR, to be honest. So let's see what happens there. Let's talk about some of these other names.
Virtus Pro.
Yeah, very surprising from Virtus Pro, isn't it? Very, very surprising.
Completely expected that, like, that's exactly the time that you're like, I've given up on Virtus Pro, where they just have the best result. And I mean, it's just classic. That's just what happens every time. But also their run wasn't like particularly hard, right? They didn't really meet any of the good teams, and they're usually pretty good at playing in like the tier 1.5. And they just struggle against all the best teams, you know. But this is where they usually thrive. So it's not that surprising to me, to be honest.
Well, the way that I was framing, especially the game where it was Pain versus VP for the qualification, I was framing it as like 2 of the biggest disappointments of the season, right? Because Pain had been on this like downward spiral, and I was fair. Like, I made sure that I highlighted the fact that they did have a lot of stand-in issues and had to use the coach Ricks, but even without that, they just hadn't looked the same self as what we were expecting for Pain, who I think for me at least had taken over the mantle of the consideration of the best Brazilian team, right? And that was obviously changing due to the losses, but really nice to watch with VP, a team who's changed coach I guess we can call it 4 if you go just over a year, because Dasan was replaced in like March last year. And then Zoma came in. He didn't last very long at all. They really didn't like him. Then they had Passionage for the longest time in that period. And then now they added Finn. And Finn didn't feel like he was doing an awful lot of talking, which is maybe what Electronic likes. But he didn't look like he didn't look like he was doing a lot of, which maybe because he's only been there for a month. But either way, one of the critiques of VP is, and this is the Jame VP. This isn't the Electronic VP, but it's still like a VP residual, I guess, framing, is that they would take these really punchy, exciting riflers and then they would neuter them. They would, take them to the vet. They'd cut off their balls and they'd hang them around James' neck, right? Because you'd have so many guys who are able to deliver and then they get forced into this play style that's not theirs. They don't play like that anymore, right? They still actually have these gamble stacks, but they don't play the slow style.
You think you can't make the same argument about Flamus?
Oh no, he definitely has been neutered. He not only did he lose his balls, he lost his tail, but they used him in a couple of occasions aggressively, and it got to pan out. I think if he grows more accustomed to some of these anchor rolls because of his aim, he can be more punchy, but he's a guy who likes to set the tone. So that's what is probably the biggest adjustment for him as an individual. And because of his personality type too, he's getting fired up, right? You see him, he gets quite excited. You can tie personality, I think, to play style, because, when you want to be up in the air, you also want to be dictating the tone of the game. So that's an adjustment that's going to be necessary for him, and he's going to have to find greater output, not because he found output on the T side, getting gaps for them to close that Mirage game. And that was actually a fun game. I would imagine that most people didn't watch this series because it was on at the same time as FaZe versus Legacy. And if you didn't, it would be my series so far of the major that wasn't the main focus that I would say go back and watch. Yes, it was 13-10, 16-13. I would go back and watch it. It had a lot of moments. None of them ended up on Reddit, which is crazy to me because there were some really, really, really huge moments.
Oh, there was
Flip from Goose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on Dust 2. And that was a really fun game of Counter-Strike. NQZ was doing great on the openings of the AWP. Like, there was a nice AWP head-to-head between him and Icy. It was a fun game. It was a really fun game overall. And then the same with Mirage. That one went the distance. There was Snow sitting a 10-second defuse to push them into overtime. There was really, really good rounds of Counter-Strike. So if there's one series that you guys probably didn't get as the general community, I would recommend go back and watch that one, because you got to see some of the highlights for both of those teams, and it was a good game. Even though it was a 2-0, that would be my strong recommend. It's like I'm, giving you guys a Netflix recommendation.
Nice.
But
no one's gonna watch. The classic.
It's fine. It's fine.
The show changed my life.
Yeah, it did.
Cool.
No, but it was fun. I liked it.
What are the odds of Electronic actually being in this team after the major?
Well, there was rumors, right, about changes.
Yeah,
but
not reports, rumors. Let's just clarify that. So it's not super.
Okay.
Super concrete, but I'm looking towards Milanor here to tell me.
Man, VP are a fucking black hole of information to me. I've never saw anything that they've done coming, so I don't know. I honestly don't know.
All I see is every time Electronic is not actively playing a match, he is not in a VP jersey. Have you noticed this?
Well, a lot of players I've been noticing, like there was a 3D Max game, they were in the huddle before, and I think 3 of them didn't have their jersey on until they finished the huddle. Then they went and put their jersey on and sat down. So
maybe it's a superstition type thing. I don't know.
I see what you're saying though, Prof. You think if you're proud of the colors, then you'd be wearing the colors, right?
Yeah. But, I didn't notice this before. This is like complete, tinfoil hat moment. It's not saying this is like a big thing, but I'm just paying attention to it. Didn't notice this behavior from Electronic previously.
Also, previously, he would have probably dodged the IGL question. We did an interview with him, and he did it in Russian, whether or not because he didn't want there to be any follow-ups. Certain question, I don't know, but like the quote from him that came out had slightly the vibes of a guy who's looking for a new contract, which is like a
LinkedIn post.
Yeah. My progress as an in-game leader is colossal ever since I became one. And you obviously know what the community reaction is going to be to that one. And he still says it, which is the incredible part to me, you know. So like that was just the only thing that caught my eye, you know. Like he's usually he would just say like I asked him about it in Katowice or something, like about the IGL thing, and he just said something very generic, and he's like, I just don't want to talk about it anymore, you know. And like literally just like decide not to answer the question, which is like fine, fuck it. Like if you're pissed off that every time you have an interview everybody's asking you about it, which they do, like every time I see an electronic interview somebody asks him about the IGL, like
a different mind,
pissed off at some point.
A different headspace though this time though, right? You had just gone 3-0, so you're probably feeling.
I mean, he only
like
does
there's
interviews
confidence
when
behind the words.
This, and then when they beat FaZe, and it was FaZe Falcons and FaZe when they beat them in Blast. Then he also did an interview, classic, like only winning interview. Actually, the funniest thing probably of this week was the statement that came through from like Telegram and then CS News translation, whatever. But essentially, it was like from VP management.
CEO, I think.
That was commenting on how like VP don't do interviews, you know, and don't communicate with media and blah blah. And he said, you know, players don't want to do it. They had a lot of pushback. And then he said, you know, we're not here to give interviews. We're here to win tournaments. I was like, well, you're not doing either. You're not doing either right now. So
let's try to do one of the two, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. If VP can keep playing the way they have, like Flit was really instrumental. He was playing like a star player for the team, so that's exciting. I'll be honest, I didn't get to catch any of the Furia games either because I was casting the adjacent games at the time. So I can't really comment on them, but I think it's a good sign that they made it through the next stage. It shows...
had a really good last series, right? I just saw the stats.
Yes,
I didn't actually see the game because it was the same time as.
Yakinda is currently
Falcons game, right?
Second highest player of the stage, 132 rating, 6 maps. So, and he's matching also Electronic. And like, I mean, this is one thing, got to give props, if anything, to Electronic individually. He stepped up to a huge degree. He was absolutely struggling for a while now, which is kind of part of my criticism for the team. He has some, important roles, and he's not delivering in them. Obviously, if he goes from 0-8 to 130, they're going to win games. Big jump, that's kind of how things work.
Yeah. For me, just getting to see some of the names that are not at the top of the pops in the server delivering on like LAN environments has been pretty cool. Obviously, NiKo with that record buster of an ancient game in stage 1. There was a lot of conversation about that at the time. But like, there's always been a lot of talk about Zwei, and I have casted his games before. But to see him doing it on LAN in this environment, and with the conviction, and with some of the positions he plays, he's so confident in these roles and taking these duels, and it's great to see. And I think he's part of the Russian kid cabal of who love aiming. So because a donk came up to him and tapped him up, and it's like seeing these little 17-year-olds doing that is quite funny. But yeah, they must be friends to some regard. I think Tania continues to be great.
Yeah, Harry said Zwei's English is impeccable.
Oh, Falcons, get on the line.
I mean, we just had an interview with him as well. If people want to go check that out.
Yeah, on Spotify as well.
Well, actually, someone in chat said, what if Spirit sneakily getting Zwei? For the positions he plays, it could be possible.
It could be. I mean, it's the same, like, a lot of people are also talking about Tania, right? That's another one it's not quite the same thing, but similar. Like, you could probably slot him into Spirit pretty easily. Yeah. How about both? People are like, who do you kick, Magics or something?
To be honest, like, it would be on brand for Spirit. Like, they always did more changes, and usually sooner than we expected. Like, even if you go back to the Dexter, Chopper, Magic's lineup,
and then like Patsy,
when they made like big changes, that Patsy and who else they removed at Dexter and Patsy, I think, at the time, and then Wonderful came in and all of these things. Like, they always made bigger changes, so it's kind of actually weird that right now they're very stagnant from that point of view. Wouldn't be super surprised.
Win, right? That's maybe the reason. So.
And I mean, also on the other hand, HEROIC is just making fun of Tania for not speaking English. Like, there's on social media clips
over there. Their
vibe is the best vibe. Like, I
100%
love the team, love everything they are putting out from like org perspective to the players individually. Like, spoke to them a bit in Mongolia as well. Been just chill dudes. Love that. Hope they can make it through to the next stage as well.
Yeah, they play later today. Some other highlight players that I just wanted to bring up and kind of get some thoughts on from you guys. I think Sampaius is doing what Sampaius has to do at this level of CS. It's great to see. Like, he's had some games where he's won some really important clutches or had some farm matches. Obviously, his stats were better in stage 1 than stage 2, but the level of competition has gone up, and they did have a blowout loss, right? So that's always going to tank your stat lines.
I just love Sampaius' flair. Like, whenever you watch him play, like, he does have games where he just disappears, but like, he wants to make a difference. You know, he's just one that type of an hopper. It's just really fun.
There's Lado and Dumao who are playing again in this stage, and Yanko has been banging on about those guys for like 4 fucking years. He's always talking about, that Lado and Dumao, and obviously Barton was there for a little while, but they made the changes. Obviously, the biggest one, Lux, coming in to be the in-game leader, and they got Nissim from Sharks, and then they have Sadson as the AWP. So they've, as a team, we all could say they overperformed, right? But it is the Cinderella run, so that's the perfect story for this. And Dumao and Lado are powering this. I know a lot of people don't like the Dumao yelling, same as they don't like the Snow yelling. You guys are just gonna have to deal with it. Actually, you don't. You're a fan. You can enjoy it or not enjoy it. Say whatever you want.
Yeah. Also, watch on CSTV that apparently just crashes every 10 rounds, but not my problem, I guess. Okay. I have to say, just one thing that we didn't really talk about the tournament in general. One thing I just have to say, these booths looking at each other just allows for so much more personality to come out and little interactions and stuff. And it's not like a new thing, but I just want to give it some props because it's just nice when it happens. We have, studio tournaments, we had hotel room RMRs, and it just doesn't hit the same if it's not like this. So I think this really should be the standard. If we don't have an audience, then at least to have this, because it is fun. A lot of fun little things happen.
Agreed. I would love it if we were able to. Obviously, PGL, I like their setup. It's a little bit more intimate in the 360s. Like, if people remember Cluj from earlier in the year, or I don't think it was exactly 360, but it was center stage, and they're facing each other. You're not going to be able to yell and hear each other in that environment unless we brought everybody a little bit closer and then still with the crowd. And
I still think
probably wouldn't.
It's unlikely.
But I think that still, right. This is one thing that I've been preaching, and I know that not all the tournament organizers necessarily agree with this sentiment, but my angle on it is it's a competition. It's not a concert. And I hate it when the teams are out there and they're just facing the audience, because not only can the audience see nothing, you're looking at monitors and then tips of heads. And then maybe if they stand up, you're also not providing the environment where it feels like a competition for the player. Your opponent, you're head to head. I understand that it's in the server, but the physical part of this still is a massive element. And I think it adds to the game. And that's why I agree with Prof. I understand it's more expensive. They have the smart glass. There's a lot of extra factors that go into it. It's not for everybody. Like, PGL group stages don't have head-to-head. Those are in different booths. And maybe that's something that they will look to bring in, because it, from a broadcast perspective and a viewer enjoyment, adds a lot. Attention. Your taxi will arrive in a few minutes. Who the fuck is Leah, and why is he the go to shit talk? He's like, Carrigan's had some good moments. Leah's up there. Wait till Apex gets here. I hope he's been brought.
We need a vitality Nemiga game.
Yeah, if somebody wants to go and just watch one game just for the trash talk, just go into the FaZe HEROIC one, because it's just every single round something, and it's like podcast trash talk vibe from Carrigan, where he just talks 5 sentences before he ends it. It's crazy.
It is so fun.
Who was a simple saying "shut the fuck up" to? That wasn't
Dumao.
It was
Dumao.
Oh yeah,
it was Dumao.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because Dumao just yells after every round, right? Like, he doesn't really say anything. Same with Lear. Most of his are guttural roars. Dumao's are basically just a roar as well. So it's been some fun moments, and I think that the setup definitely helps play into that. There's probably a few things that we're missing. Like, I'm sad to see Ty Lugo. To be honest, G losing is more sad to me than Falcons. Falcons is disappointing. Falcons is man, you guys have let down the whole Counter-Strike world.
It makes you angry.
But G's he's the sweetest soul. And I think Maui talked about this on the desk, and I don't want to talk about the culture in China because I don't actually know it. But it does feel like G gets a better reception from a Western audience than he would from a local audience, because he's showing emotion, right? And I think it's really fun to get to see someone who English isn't their native language and they're giving it a go. And it's quite endearing. Same with Emilia. He seems to have had a bit of a fan base pop off as well recently.
That is honestly the best interview I've seen probably
BT and
ever,
stuff,
to be honest.
yeah.
Like, that's just a guy has aura by saying like 5 words, 3 questions. Amazing.
I loved it though, the way is Lima, right? The way that he starts that interview, and Emilia's like, I don't speak, and Lima's like, I'll talk slowly, and then the way that they're conversing is like, it's really nice, right? And I think it probably feels less intimidating because they're talking to Brazilians speaking Portuguese. They're not that they speak English very well, but they're not
like a proper interviewer or whatever.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more casual in that sense, and it was really nice to see.
Wait, one sec. I might actually have to take a call.
Oh shit!
Because we have medals coming. I think. One sec.
Oh, I thought it was going to be. I thought. Did you say medals?
Yeah, the MVP.
Oh, I thought it was going to be about. I've got it. There's a hot leak. There's a hot leak, Prof. We got the rumors. We know who's going.
Metasport is
getting rid of Adam B. Yeah, that's
Adam
the hot
B.
leak.
Is going to explore his options. I don't know who's getting rid of who in the story, but there's something happening.
Yeah. I have another story. I got another. Let me tell another story in the intro because it relates to BT. We didn't acknowledge each other, and I tried to, but I was in a really sad mood. When I landed in Austin, my bag was missing. Did I already tell this story?
Yeah. I mean, we were kind of before the last podcast. There was a lot of shit going on.
So my bag didn't make it, which is crazy because I was at Moses's house. And me and Machine were there together. We were spending our week off between Dallas and Austin, staying in the States because there was really no point flying back. And we had just landed in Austin, and Alex and Jason's bags arrived. My bag didn't get on the plane. It didn't, like, in where Jason lives, their bags got on the plane. My bag didn't get on the plane.
It was a direct flight.
No. There was a layover, but it didn't even get on the first flight.
Okay.
And but which is weird because Jason checked in first, I checked in second, and Alex checked in third. So it's like if Alex checked in third and his bag didn't get there, okay, fine. But I was second. I was sandwiched. I was around other bags. I just don't understand it. So anyway, don't get my bag, and I'm like so sad because it's like, man, it was just a flight within North America. Like I'm just drained, right? I just feel like a bit flat. I'm not narky.
Sucks. I hate travel. Like it's just. I can survive it, but everything about it is just like so draining.
Yeah, and I'm not like mad or anything like that. I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm in America, I can buy anything I need. I don't have anything in that bag that I really need quickly, other than if I didn't get my bag for like a month, I wouldn't be able to spray the shit in my hair and my hair would fall out. That's kind of sad. Other than that, though, right? Like everything was going to be fine. So I go to the place to report my bag missing. And I also had time to deal with it because on the plane I had Wi-Fi and I received an email saying that my bag wasn't there. So I knew 30 minutes before I landed that I wasn't going to be getting my bag. I had plenty of time to get myself right for it. So I walk in and I go into the room where you report it, and BT, like Lima and I forget the other guy's name. They were outside the bag room, and I was like, it's weird. I walk in and BT's there, and he's talking to the woman behind the counter, and apparently his bag was damaged, right? So he was trying to give information, and he was trying to tell them like the city he was from and stuff, and they were having a hard time understanding that Brasilia is a city in Brazil. And they were helping him along, but they were the most unhelpful people that I've ever experienced in my entire life. And remember, I'm going up drained. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I have no tone in my voice. I'm just flat. I've been defeated. It's like when the internet's giving me a hard day. And I go up and I go, hi, my bag didn't arrive. And this woman is the rudest woman in the whole world. She didn't apologize. She made me feel like I was the problem, right? So eventually it gets to the point, like, give her my tag, give her the details and everything. She's like, okay, so it's arriving it got on this flight, da-da-da-da-da. And she looks at me and she goes, so what do you want to do? And I just stop.
Get my fucking bag.
Just stop, and I look at her and I wanted to unleash. I wanted to call her, right? Because she was so rude. And I just said,
what were we talking about?
Well, my bag got lost. You missed a whole lot, but you're just gonna have to stick along for the end.
I was like, there's no way this is somebody I know, surely.
I wanted to unleash the fury. And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean? What do I want to do? I would like my bag. And she goes, would you want to wait at the airport? It'll be here an hour and a half, or we can send it to your hotel. And I was like, what the fuck did I do, man? Like, you lost my bag. So then I snapped a little bit. I said, you lost my bag. She goes, it's not lost. It's just on a later plane. I was like, are you fucking joking? Like, what's happening here? What have I done? And then anyway, long story short, the bag, I got it, but it wasn't. That was my BT story. That was the link there.
Right.
Got a few stories. Anyway, let's get back. Striker's back.
Do you want me to show this or no?
Yeah, if you want.
No.
Okay.
Let's not show it. But there's a different medal for the major MVP.
Oh,
it's
you're
like
not going
a
to show
special
it?
edition.
Is it for the major?
Yep.
Only for the major MVP.
This could be a HLTV
for this
confirmed
major
exclusive. Prof,
for this
about
special
the podcast views.
Well, I don't know. We have a sponsor, maybe they want to do it in a special way. So I wouldn't just YOLO do that right now.
All right, fine. Let's get into the Stage 3 pick'em, shall we? Because the first match of the final day of Stage 2 is going to kick off in, what's the time now? We're talking 8:42. It's going to start in an hour and 20 minutes. So the desk is going to be starting in about, 50 minutes. So yeah, we've got 3 more games today. Then we have a day off where media will start to be conducted for stage number 3, and then we'll get back underway. Stage 1 and stage 2 have been played back to back, and then we get in way for stage 3 where the big teams join. So today we get Nemiga-HEROIC, Baitlin Vision, and FaZe MIBR. I think what we should probably do first is discuss through who we think the winners of those are going to be, and then we can do the pick'ems, because the pick'ems will mean we have to make those assumptions. So because there's 3 of us, we can all talk through this and come to a conclusion. So let's go through match number 1, Nemiga versus HEROIC. I think namesake HEROIC are the favorite there, but do I get any people with the pushback thinking Nemiga can do it? And the shit talk could be fun in that one if Lear shows up. I really like what the Belarusian is bringing to the table.
I also love how Lear is a classic bottom frag shit talker. It's just
if you're the in-game leader, you're allowed, bro. You're allowed to as the in-game leader. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think it could be it's definitely a competitive game. I don't think it's like a lock-in for HEROIC in any way. I would like to see HEROIC go through, but I also wouldn't mind. Nemiga so far, I think they've been pretty impressive. So, whoever takes it, honestly.
I mean, they played it back in EPL, and it was Nemiga who won, So, I know that's 3 months ago now, but they've been playing around the similar level for a while. So, I think it could be competitive.
Guys, can we just pause the show? Zooted needs to roll a blunt. So if we can just take a moment.
There was actually a funny joke before when you're saying about, you lose your liquids to put on your hair, so you're going to go bald. Someone said you can buy glue at any supermarket.
Dude, I had a guy the other night. So we were playing, shout out to Jason Moso till one time who organized some PCs for me, Harry, and Machine. And himself. So we've been playing from our rooms. We've just been playing some comp games or some prem games. And me, Alex, and Jason were playing the other night, and we were just owning guys. The game ended, and a guy threw an insult my way. I have the opposing team muted at all times. I only know because Alex said what he said, and his insult to me was "nice hair plugs." So I was like, okay. Well,
actually, the dumbest thing is sometimes when I wear a hat on the podcast, and someone comes in and is like, get a hair transplant. I'm like, first of all, you can't even see my hair. Secondly, I already did that. Thirdly, what the fuck? It doesn't even make any sense.
It's so
amazing.
Strange though, right? Just to sidebar, it is Men's Mental Health Month or whatever the fuck it is.
Isn't it Pride Month?
It's that as well. I think they run adjacently, which is
okay.
Yeah, interesting. The thing with that is the reason that I did it, and I don't know your reason, Prof. I don't know other people's reasons as well, but it was affecting my self-confidence so badly because I never thought, I always had lots of hair and I always had big hair. I never thought at any point that I would lose my hair. And then you lose it so rapidly, right? You don't even realize as it's happening until it's too late to just do something like taking finasteride or minoxidil to kind of revert the changes. And then you lose it, and then you're kind of left in this scenario where it's it sounds really quite lame, and it does sound like a bit bitch made, but it's my identity in some way was, part of my hair, and at that point you kind of question what do I do? And I ended up actually shaving my head in the surgery, and at that point I did lose a lot of that anxiety because I didn't know what I was going to look like with a shaved head, and I thought it was okay. A lot of guys mentally a lot stronger than me
after that,
don't have a problem with just shaving their head, and respect to you guys, right? I have mad respect for people who are happy with that decision. It's something that I really, really struggled with. So when people want to insult me about like doing that and like taking Turkish Airlines and stuff. It's so strange. It's like, yeah, I guess I get it. Like it's not the Eastern European version of being a man, right? But like you guys don't even know what mental health is. So it's like I just
it's not a concept here.
You know,
so.
like I just struggle with why that's like a dig at somebody. It's like, all right, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to give a fuck
kind
out
of similar.
because you do have hair, so who cares?
Yeah,
kind of similar. Like everyone in my family was bald, so at the earlier age, so I was the one that had hair, and then, you know, decided to do it. I obviously shaved my head for it. And I'm like, I look fine, but I also look like my brother, who's a different person, and I don't want to have his identity. So I'd rather have hair if possible. It's a great way to differentiate the two of us from not being the same. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing overall.
You have a funny hat.
No, yeah. Anyway, we'll move
Striker
on back talking
doesn't
about the
have
game,
that
shall we?
problem. Dude has
I'm graying, bro.
brush.
I'm graying faster than anybody
that's
in my
amazing.
family, so
Everyone
that's
does that.
different.
The Grey Fox, mate.
That's proven to
Silver
be
Fox.
attractive as well. Like
Okay,
that's
fair enough. That's what I'll tell myself.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got to predict these teams, boys. Prof said he doesn't care. Striker, who do you think is going to win, Nemiga or Heroic?
I think Heroic is going to win.
Okay. Nemiga is an entire team of major rookies. On the other side of the server, it's Tanir and Youngster. I think Sampais is the potential biggest difference maker. Actually, shout out to Xcloud as well. He has some really nice rounds too within that team. So as long as if Tanir is able to keep his resolve and continue to play like he has been, then I will back Heroic. But I think that Xanta let his hair down yesterday. I kind of like the look. Everybody I've seen moments from Nemiga in this event, but I think that I will just kind of leverage the experience factor. And that's just because we have to pick. I kind of do agree with you, Prof. I would be happy to have either team in the next stage.
I'd be most happy to have both, but can't have that, I guess.
So let's just go with Heroic out of the safe side.
Yeah.
This will all make sense in a second, guys, because we're going to get to doing some pick'ems for the next stage. Like it's going to be made up on the run. So let's just say it's Heroic, even though we do like Nemiga. Bait versus Lin Vision.
It's a tougher one for sure. I mean, I think still, like on paper, you'd still have to think Baits. But again, like they also haven't played as much as, like, for example, Envision internationally and all that stuff. You know, like the pressure could get to them, like once it's about, do or die. So it could also get to them, you know. And I like Envision are that type of a team that are just gonna surprise you in some way, and you let them surprise you enough, and it just spirals very quickly, you know. I do think that, like, I had them as 0-3 for this stage, so I would still say that they're gonna be the underdogs there, but I don't think it's so clear cut.
I think for selfish reasons, which are regional reasons, I would pick Lin Vision because I want Lin Vision to win. But yeah, I don't know. This one is probably the toughest for me to call of the round. We're going to get a Mirage ban from Lin Vision.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get the nuke ban from Bait, and then like. I don't think Bait picked Train. They don't have a great win-loss on it. Bait probably go into Inferno. That seems to be a map that MPL has liked calling upon.
Maybe an Ancient or an Anubis, I guess. Anubis Ancient.
Yeah, that could definitely crop up. I think this is a head-to-head that's never happened before either, so it's a complete unknown from that perspective too.
I actually do think Lin Vision take this. I think they'll be... I don't know. I think they just got some crazy scalps so far, and they have the confidence. I think that would be, and they have less expectations. You know, I think those three things combined.
Do you think they have less expectations? Is it because Bait's European? You have higher expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, like I said, I would personally like to see Lin Vision win. It's not that I have anything against Bait or the players. It's just that I for the regional perspective. So let's just say Lin Vision for argument's sake. There, right? This is all we're just essentially guessing here, right? Making our best guesstimations.
Yeah.
And then the final game of the day is going to be MIBR versus FaZe, which is also hard to call.
Something popped up on the timeline for me. Carbon Dogma, formerly HLTV, that's the US. Just so everyone is aware of the stakes today, FaZe, via Kerrigan and Elige, are the final hope for Denmark and the United States to keep their country's streak of attending every major top 16.
Oh, wow.
Because Falcons now are outside. That's kind of Danish. There's nobody else Danish that's in stage 3.
Really? That's crazy.
That's what I'm trying to just double check, but it makes sense because Falcons are one of those, right? Maus, they have Cyclone, but that's a coach, right? And yeah, nobody else. That's it. No Americans on Liquid, of course.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy about Denmark though. What a drop off.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like America, not so much, right? Like that is what it is, but that's crazy.
Yeah, they've only always had a few in the top 16, I would imagine, if at all more than one sometimes, so.
Damn, okay. Well, look, MIBR did an awful lot of convincing yesterday, and I think that's the type of win that builds unrivaled confidence, and the fact that they withstood the nerves, that's going to do an awful lot for them. And I think map pool wise, we touched on it before, it does match up kind of well against a FaZe who seem to be untested because of just the lack of reps. I'll predict we'll end up going with FaZe just because I think we want to see Simple and FaZe in the next stage, but I don't know if they deserve the prediction.
Yeah, it's very, very close. Very
can we let people in Twitch chat vote, Lucas? Maybe we'll leverage that. We've done the first two. Lucas, can we put a vote up?
And we can go into the pick'ems and see.
Yeah, we can still talk about it, but let's let people in Twitch chat, Lucas. If you can let a poll come up for the people in chat to vote either MIBR or FaZe, and then we'll just use that in the pick'em. So whack that up, and then we'll jump into this, which Dimitri has set up for us.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of who we think would have a better chance in stage 3, I think the answer is fairly clear.
MIBR and FaZe. Sorry, Lucas. Yeah. Keep going, Striker. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was going to say, from the perspective of who will do better in stage 3, probably would be FaZe.
They have a higher ceiling, but so far they haven't really shown it, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, MIBR have also shown some great things, but, they don't have a Simple.
Yeah, well, Simple's had flares. I think the thing is
really good games so far.
Frozen's also been great in a couple of games.
He's been pretty consistently good throughout this whole horrible season for FaZe, to be honest. Let's jump into the presentation thing.
The pick'em, Sorry, I made Lucas multitask there, so it's a bit hard. I can just move these, Lucas, you're saying, right? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to move some things, and let's see if there's any objections. There's my first 3-0 team. And the reason I want to say this is for one reason. If we had Falcons and FaZe going 3-0, or even Falcons and HEROIC, right, which are two teams who we know could deliver a decent level of Counter-Strike, one of those two names would have matched up against Vitality. Now it's Legacy.
Yep.
So, we have that confirmed that Legacy will be the game. Legacy, Vitality. I posted the rest in the WhatsApp.
Do you have VP or?
Yeah, because VP are the second highest seed, right?
And Spirit? Spirit are the second or no?
Yeah. And then Mouse, Furia, I guess.
No, wait, it was Mao's VP and it was Spirit Pain.
Spirit Pain. Okay.
That's what you posted, Prof.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's from the Reddit.
VP, you could see.
That could be a fun game, but unless Mao's come in super slow because they're not used to the conditions. We know that Mao's, this is the one thing that needs to get a bit more respect in the Mao's camp, and especially after the fallout of the Falcons situation, is the fact that they are able to have their mental in the group stage games, which you still have to play, obviously. They're there. They know how to compete. And I think that is a super underrated thing because normally we don't have a team like Falcons shitting the bed in this regard. So I feel like that shouldn't be understated. But who's the other team that you guys would want to put here in the 3-0 category?
It would be one of the next two, right? It would be Spirit or Mouse.
It should be Mouse.
I think it's Mouse are the known 3-0ers.
Okay.
I move it.
Yeah, you do it. Go for it, Matt. Get it in there.
You didn't know.
Not every major, but generally in group stages, they're the ones that top the group.
Because we're all
just a bit worried about the VP matchup. But then Spirit Pain, it's not like Pain couldn't take that one as well. So it's tough to just base it off of one match, Yeah,
obviously, also could be one of these two in Aurora and Mongols because they're also a group. They're the group stage merchants. But I think it's hard for it's going to be harder for them considering the teams that they're playing are going to be coming warmed up. I think that's it puts it in a kind of a different scenario compared to like the average tournament that they're playing, where I don't know who they might be playing, but they might be playing like a bait that has like 12 maps already on LAN in the last 5 days, and you're playing your first game in like 2-3 weeks. I think it's gonna be kind of rough to expect them to go 2-0 on that first day. I think that's where all of these big teams have the biggest problems. Yeah.
What did the poll result get to? Did anybody see it?
FaZe 60%.
Okay, so we go with FaZe in this one. So I think based on what Prof's just saying here, we need to move
How's it only
Mongols,
60%, man?
Spirit, and Aurora into the 3-1 or 3-2 category. I think that goes without saying. Now let's try and populate the 0-3.
I mean, I picked Legacy every step of the way, and I'll double down again. just put them there.
Okay, I don't look. The Cinderella story needs to have enemies. We need the ugly sisters, and I'll be honest, I haven't received any hate from the Brazilian community this event yet. So I'm expecting it at some point. So if we put Legacy 0-3 here, there'll be a nice screenshot. There'll be some writing in Portuguese. They'll be like, kill the gringos, and that'll be it, right? So this will be perfect.
How many times can you
because
say
it's up
those
to us
words?
to decide whether they go 0-3 or not, obviously.
No, but I mean, I've been kind of fond of them for the first 2 stages. I think they're very outmatched. Not saying they can't get a win. Obviously they got some wins on teams that are in this stage, including FaZe, but I think they're towards the bottom. I think the other one could be Baitlin Vision winner, could be 3D Max, could be a Furia VP. Even though they went through, I'm not gonna fucking buy into this that they're now such amazing teams.
Wow, okay.
And they're like, oh, VP's 3-0, now they're gonna go to the playoffs. Yeah, okay. Let's chill out on that one.
Could I throw a crazy one into the mix? So FaZe, if they do beat MIBR, are going to be one of the lowest seeds, right? So that means they're going to be playing against one of the lowest seeds of the initial stage, which is going to be like a Na'Vi, a Liquid, or a G2. That is going to be like watching a fight in a mud pit. Like it's not going to be beautiful. So
wait, what did you say? Sorry, which
the lower seeds, right? The teams who are going to come through today as the 3-2 teams will be matching up against the lower seeded teams, which are Na'Vi, Liquid, and G2, right? So we don't know who will be facing who, but those teams and what levels of faith. So Na'Vi, I'll put more stock in than a Liquid or a G2. So if it was like a Heroic versus Liquid, I could see Heroic winning that. If it's a FaZe versus a G2, I could see FaZe winning that.
Yeah.
So
low-key G2 is the other 03.
I wouldn't even have a problem doing that because it's so crazy that it's not crazy.
Because like, what did they beat with this lineup? Beat Lin Vision 2-0, lost to Mongols, lost to Gamer Legion, beat 3D Max 2-1. That's their run. And I feel like the Lin Vision they played in Dallas and the Lin Vision that is now after all the wins that they got. Even if they go through, will they even play a team like this, or will they play some like better teams? I don't know. I don't have too much confidence in this G2. I definitely don't think they'll make the playoffs. It depends completely on what kind of the matchups comes. I think it could be like a hipster pick for those 3.
I think it's a BM hipster pick, right? Like I think that
Striker is not.
I don't mind this at all.
I think that'll be better than we're expecting because NiKo and Monacy were worse than we're expecting, right? And
it's a good logic.
That's the way that the world balances.
No, don't be the red. Don't be Reddit yesterday. Don't be Reddit yesterday. Oh, NiKo is the most overrated player. Oh, they're never gonna win it. It's like no, there's a lot of gray between these two black and white images we're trying to paint.
Okay, all right, fine. Well, we have to put a team there.
Yeah, I mean, it would still make more sense if it was like Fate or Lin Vision winner or something like that, right? Like on paper, but I'm honestly fine with the hipster pick.
All right, do we want to give the G2 social media some ammo to have fun with?
Just give them the hipster pick.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give them some fun. I want to say,
yeah. It's so hard for me to pick anybody other than Navi and Liquid to playoffs. Like, I don't have faith in anybody.
So we think that the first two stages were a complete waste of everybody's time. And that Vitality, Mouse, Mongol,
we got rid of
Aurora.
G203. That's what we're doing.
I also got rid of Falcons.
So the most likely option is not always the outcome, is it? So
look, I mean, we can do whatever.
There's still one crazy.
All right, fine, fine. We'll go with the stand.
It's not even that I actually have such high trust in these two teams. It's like who else do I?
Low expectations for the others.
Very low expectations for everybody else. Like, especially if FaZe had continued from the first couple of games and they just stomped the third game, I would be fucking sold. I would be like, FaZe are gonna win the major. Fuck it. Like that's what's happening. But now I'm just like, who the fuck knows what FaZe will turn up today?
Okay.
And like, well, who knows?
Pat, who would you pick for the last one?
Jesus, Joseph, and
Jesse, I'm not saying you lock it in, but I'm saying I want to hear you out.
I think I'd need to provide at least a base level of rationale, and that's going to be quite difficult to do. So I think if I'm talking player for player and potential, I would throw it to VP, which seems crazy. Like, I shouldn't be buying into that. I can't get VP pilled after just one good stage.
Oh, that's what they go out 0-3. Like that's what you predict them, and they bomb.
I will say 3D Max look like they've played a more comprehensive style of Counter-Strike as opposed to just like shock and awe in your face CS. So I think that they've made some really good leaps and bounds since the last events. They look like they had a better understanding of how to play mid-round, and they weren't just so like in your face. But when you look at the run, they beat BetBoom, lost to Legacy, beat Nemiga, and then beat FaZe. And FaZe didn't look very good. So it's not the best wins to inspire too much confidence, which I think is probably the issue across the board. Who did Furia beat? That's what I think I need to quickly catch up on.
And the last one.
Before that, it was M80. They lost to Pain and they beat Vision. So another one here that is not amazing, is it? So yeah, I
you know what I would go with? Would go with? I would go with the full Pain reverse. Because I was so high on them at the beginning of the year, and then they just fucking shit the bed ever since they got Davideus, or DGT rather. But I think
DGT,
yeah. But I think they're turning it around. I think they could have a pretty good shot.
Pain. They're all hard. I would say all those four are in the same boat. And then we think Heroic have what it takes? Obviously, they have to get past Nemiga today.
Same deal as FaZe. Like at the beginning it was looking good, but now, like, the last couple of games haven't been super convincing. They almost lost to Tyloo. They got slammed at the beginning.
Prof has any big objections?
Yeah, I don't know. My camera's not there. You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay,
yeah, your team speech weird disconnect. So good.
I think for me it would be, I like the Pain rationale. I also like the Heroic Nemiga winner. These are the, if Heroic goes through, I think those are the two that I would think about.
I think both of them are out of the box. So
yeah,
do I have a coin? I'll maybe toss a coin or something. Do I have a coin? I don't have a coin.
I'm more towards Pain. I'm more towards Pain, to be honest.
All right. Pain. Well, this kind of mitigates the Brazilian hate too. So we're kind of fighting fire with fire. This is great, actually. So we've insulated ourselves here. Like, we put one of them 0-3, but we put the other one 3-2. So if anything, we love Brazil. Come to Brazil, they say. Okay. That's our pick'ems. Let's wind this up. We got a couple more bits and bobs we have to get through, and that'll probably line up exactly when the show starts. So make sure you guys tune in to the start of the broadcast to catch Moses, Maui, and Banks to start the day. All right, let's get into Skinionaire. Am I answering this one? Is Striker answering this one? Who's answering this one?
One of
we
the
all
two
answering
of you.
this one?
One of the. I know the answers. So
it's the classic confirmed one. It's just confirmed stuff.
All right.
Okay, right now everybody knows what to do. We're giving away 2 sets of skins across both platforms. So if you're watching right now on Kick or you're watching on Twitch, just get in and type skin place in chat right now for your chance to enter the draw. That's your raffle ticket. There'll be one lucky winner drawn from each chat. So we will let you start typing that. We're going to get this underway. This is Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skin Place, one of our lovely sponsors of the show. If you haven't been here before, it's a multiple choice questions. We're going to do 5 of which every question that Striker and I this week are able to get correct. We'll move the slider up by 1, and the grand prize is a $50 skin if we can get there. And if it's a classic confirmed quiz, that means there's probably going to be a couple of Dimitri curveballs in the mix. So we apologize in advance because the whole point here is to trick us. And yeah. All right, let's give it a go. Let's get into question number 1. The current episode is going under the number, oh my God, 17, 23, 28.
Absolutely zero idea. Absolutely zero clue. Like,
what is happening? Why is this a question?
You mean
this is bullshit.
It's a tough question.
This is bullshit.
Season, we did the redo of the graphics, and that was like the start of the season 7.
I would probably say it's
people in Twitch chat, give us the answer.
I would say it's towards the right, but I have no idea. I would say it's more than less, but I don't know.
People in Twitch chat are saying 23. 23 is mainly the number they're saying. I'm putting it on Twitch chat. I'm going with 23. If they're wrong, it's on them. It's not our fault. It's not our fault.
Yeah, they're very incentivized to do well. So
okay.
I didn't know. Couldn't help you, to be honest. Couldn't help you.
I mean, it's their own problem. I mean, they're gonna get the skin. They're gonna get the skin.
I don't know why people are so convinced. They convinced me.
We just lost to 5v3. All right, next question. It was fucking thousands against 1, and we still lost. Thanks, Twitch chat. You fooled yourself. All right, question number 2. We can salvage this. Who made the most HLTV confirmed appearances after season 4? What fucking season are we in? What season is this?
Season 4 is like once you started hosting, just to be clear.
Oh.
You started hosting in season 4. Season 3 was Banks hosting. You're on the panel.
I think it's Smuya.
I would probably say that, yeah. It's either him or Blah, I would imagine, but I would say Smuya.
I'm locking in Smuya. Let's go for 0 out of 5, Striker. Fuck.
We haven't done that
all
yet,
this, man. Okay, Smuya is correct. Okay.
We should have just on purpose said something that was 100% like fail, just to prove a point to fucking Twitch.
Yeah, okay. Question number 3. After 2020, the first confirmed live show was from Antwerp, Katowice, or Stockholm.
This live show meaning
just from a
audience.
location. No.
Okay. Then Stockholm.
I think it was Stockholm. Locking in C, Stockholm. No, I think it was.
Okay. I was trying to remember Kato, but
you were bang on. You were bang on. You were bang on. All right, let's go again. Question number 4.
It was good.
Which guest appearance prompted a tweet from a famous player saying, "You're reading too many HLTV threads?" ? Which guest appearance prompted a tweet from a famous player saying, "You're reading too many HLTV threads?" Kassad, Maui, Pimp, or Smuya? I think it has to be one of the first 2.
I honestly have no idea.
It feels like it'd be something that Kassad would have said. You know, but when was the last time we even had Kassad on the show?
I'll tell you. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna help at all. I can tell you the quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tabson would be able to tell NiKo to shut up.
Has to be Kassad.
Because that must be Kassad.
Has to be Kassad.
Oh.
What if I also tell you it's not Kassad?
I think it's
okay.
Because it's such a bait. It sounds like Kassad.
Oh.
It's just not Kassad. That's all I can say. You got to.
Pimp, Smuya. I'm gonna go with Pimp.
Just go
but Smuya played with Tabson.
I feel like it's Smuya.
All right, doing it. Fuck it.
I don't know, man. I
locked
think
it's Smuya.
It was Pimp. Okay.
It was Pimp. All right, we can still get you guys a $7.50 skin, you know, and you guys like free things. So
it does sound like Pimp too, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay. Final question of Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skin Place. Which show had a quote, "I've made mistakes, not always being the best teammate. It was also used for the thumbnail. Alu, Blame F, Device, Freiburg."
That's the yellow one, no?
I don't think I was on that episode.
That's got to be the yellow one.
I wasn't on that episode.
That's got to be the yellow one.
All right, lock in an Alu. Correct answer is... All right, 3 out of 5. So you guys get something, right? And I've seen how much you guys hate the
That is
L
one
frame.
legendary fucking episode, by the way.
I wasn't there. I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't there. Maybe I was in Australia. Seems to be commonplace for me. Okay, well, we got 3 out of 5. And I told you before we started it that there was going to be fuckery. And there was fuckery. So, yeah, there you
got
go.
fucked over by Twitch chat more than Dimitri, so
That's true.
Take the L.
That's true.
I mean, I would have still probably gone straight down the middle, so...
All right, well, we're going to pick our first winner from Twitch. That is MGH Extreme. Sounds like TRT or HGH or some form of growth hormone. And on Kick, it is Dandy9. So congratulations. Our people will reach out to your people and get you your skin. Next week, we'll do better. But yeah, we'll give it a better go next time. All right. Prof, you said you had something for Fix Your Sit.
Does anyone else have something? I have a very
I got one, but it would take me 6 seconds.
Okay, we can do 2 in the same episode.
All right, make overtime in majors 12.5K because I don't want to see saving in overtime, especially in majors. Make it 12.5K like we have with ESO, like we have with Blast. I think even PGL do it. Please change the money in overtime to 12.5K for the Premier games, the comp games. Please make it 12.5K. So at the majors, we can have 12.5K. We don't have to have 10K for overtime money in majors. Thank you very much. Prof, over to you.
That's a good one.
Reasonable.
My fixer shit for this week, as I said, complete pet peeve. No one is talking about this, but everyone should be talking about this. And this is stars above your logo on a jersey. What the hell are we doing, guys? What are we doing? I sent 3 images.
We Falcons,
we can pick it up. It makes no sense. I have no idea what we're talking about. In sports, when someone has a star or something, we know what that means. Or they have a badge, league winner, Champions League winner. They have some identification that they won a lot. FaZe has 4 stars on their jersey. MIBR has 3 stars on their jersey. What does that mean, guys? What are we talking about? We are in a Counter-Strike tournament. What events is this about? What is this about? Falcons, obviously 1 star for EWC. Everyone knows, that's the most important tournament in the world, obviously. We kind of set the standard. Astralis, 4 stars on the jersey. We know what that means. 4 major wins. CS, if this is your CS jersey, that's why you have stars. Otherwise, get the fuck out. Fix your shit. Thank you.
But does the new MIBR one have them? Because they have new ones now.
I don't know.
That's
a good point. So here's what I will say.
They do. They do.
Pimp said that he thought that the MIBR jersey was the best jersey at the major.
It is great, to be honest. I like it.
Oh, you're fucking colorblind as well, mate. For fuck's sake. What are you talking about?
It's not like that I'm massive fan of the color.
They still
itself,
have 3 stars on the jersey. They have 3. Yeah. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool as well.
Oh, here's the deal. It can't be worse than the fucking Furia one. What the fuck?
The Furia one is garbage.
No, it can't be worse than the Wildcard one.
I don't even remember the Wildcard one.
That's the problem. It's basically black with fake gold-plated Wildcard on the front or whatever. And it's it has
they also had the white one towards the end.
Huh?
But they also had the white one in the last game.
Oh, did they?
Oh, I'm
maybe
looking at
that's
it right
why.
now.
That's because they thought they were shit with the old ones.
Oh, classic jersey change jinx.
They did.
Bro, but didn't that happen for Falcons as well? Monacy was saying, don't change jerseys before the major. They changed jerseys.
They changed jerseys, yeah.
It happened.
Okay.
Anyway, what do you guys think about my star rent?
I'll be honest. I take nothing from what these organizations say or do. So I agree with you. If there is going to be a point, there needs to be a point. But I don't look at this shit because what are we? It's just fucking clown fiesta after clown fiesta out there. I'm waiting for the next 20 years of Counter-Strike where we stop having multi-orgs in esports because it's all video games. Sorry, guys. It would just be a Counter-Strike org. You don't need to do all this other shit. You might actually save yourself some overheads and you might actually be able to make some money. So just be a Counter-Strike organization, you fucks. That's my opinion on the matter. I got a Rocket League team. Yeah, cool. Okay, great. Fucking football with cars. You guys are awesome. All right, let's go forward, shall we? Let's close down on some recent news. I'll save the controversial one. Actually, there's two controversial ones, but neither of them are in this recent news situation right here.
Okay.
They announced the dates for the MRQs.
Oh, I didn't talk about it. Didn't put that down. Yeah.
First of all,
none other than the Mesa Nomadic Masters.
And
For fuck's sake, guys.
And Rubet. And there was one more.
I think.
I said Thunderpick. There's one more. There was four. There was four events.
There was
Yala, I think, again.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, look, a lot of people don't care about this because it doesn't affect your favorite teams, but you should care about it. And let me tell you why you should care about it. The VRS is meant to be an open circuit system, right? It's meant to give opportunities for teams to be able to get into events if they do good enough. Now, the problem is with those events all being on top of each other, that is not actually as big a problem as you may think it is. The MRQ overlapping is the issue because the way that the invites would have trickled down, the top teams are unlikely to go to a Mesa. The top teams are unlikely to go to a Thunderpick other than a couple of names who maybe need some LAN wins or maybe want some free cash. Those invites are going to start trickling down to teams outside of the top 16. And that's where you're going to start being able to help out teams who are outside of the top 24, right? Because a Cologne or Katowice is top 24, top 30 for a bounty. So there's not too many events that are servicing outside of the top 16 within the season. Those events are hugely important to teams like a Complexity or a FlyQuest or something along those lines. And they're not going to be able to have those opportunities because they are going to have to opt to play in the MRQ. They're not going to have a choice because you want to qualify for the major. So it really is a problem that the MRQ dates have been put across those smaller events. Now, I can understand why Starlight has done that. They don't want to try and tussle with an ESL or whatever, but they should have put it over an event where top 16 teams will be at because those teams will not be competing in the fucking MRQs. It makes no sense to take away opportunity for teams who are smaller to play at LAN events, at the Thunderpicks, at the Messers, at the thises, at the that's. You've overlapped with tournaments that you shouldn't because you're scared of the big names. You can overlap with the big names. So you've done the complete wrong thing with this. Second of all, Valve, I'm coming for you in a week and a half's time. I'll be locking you in a room and we're going to be having a conversation. If you're going to set these rules for all the other TOs to set the dates ahead of time, set them yourself because this is fucking pathetic. The fact that this can happen and it's going to impact next season. And the third piece of this MRQ date announcement bullshit for my region. What are you doing by only having 3 sub-regions? Don't cheap out and not run Oceania. There are 4 spots available for stage 1. You've got East, you've got West, you've got China. You are making it pay to win. This is another thing we're going to talk about, Valve. You cannot allow a TO to do this. If you are not going to make it be a LAN event, if you are not going to force the MRQs to be a LAN event, you cannot make it pay to win. You will now limit it to literally only FlyQuest and poor Ben the Legend, if he's going to dig deeper into his pockets to pay for Semperfi to fly, to go pay where? What are we, West Asia? Or what are we, East Asia? There's no Southeast Asia. There's no Oceania. You have China, you have East Asia, you have West Asia. There is no way to compete in the MRQ as an oceanic team unless you fire yourself off of the continent somewhere in Asia. And that is fucking bullshit. That should not be pay to win in that sense. Australia, going back in the day, my team, one MSI beat at qualifying in Australia. We went over. We got invites into the early majors. Then we started to qualify by beating European teams. We deserve to be there. We deserve, with 4 spots, there should be 4 sub-regions. Steel Series, pull your fucking socks up, mate. Run the event in Oceania. Don't do this. This is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. And if you don't, like, what precedent are we setting going forward? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous that can be the case.
I think you called out the wrong company.
You said Steel Series and not
yeah, Steel Series.
Star Ladder.
Yeah. I love your keyboards and your mouse pad, and I'm using your headset right now. Steel Series, fix it. Anyway, I love your Steel Series. I got a QCK Heavy right here. I've got a small little keyboard right now, and I'm wearing your headset. Anyway, you all got what I meant.
There you go. Another shit right there. Impromptu.
All right. I didn't watch the big conference. What did they say? Anything good?
Just kind of a lot of talk about like that they have faith in the current roster, and that the only thing that's going to change is they very vaguely said like support around the team, you know, like just vaguely insinuating that there's going to be a coaching change or whatever, but they never really said whether it's a coach change or analyst change or assistant coach change or performance coach. Who the fuck knows exactly? But yeah, the implication was that only the setup around the team is going to change, and that's like something that the organization kind of took responsibility for, and that they still have faith in this actual 5. So no actual player changes. Otherwise, there was just a lot of talk about things that aren't necessarily current. Like Tapson was asked about like IGLing and whether he would give up IGLing, and he pretty much said like that he never like forced his way to be an IGL. I know it's just like how it happened, and if they did have a better option, or if somebody from the team was willing to step up, he would give it up if they felt confident about it, but it just never happened. Same thing about their approach to like switching between international and national, effectively saying like whenever there's no talent to choose from, like they just are forced to go international, but they would always rather stay German. So like things like this, like other than like what they talked about the current lineup, nothing too much that's really necessarily new.
Yeah, look, I think that the headline for everybody is Crimbo and Tabson ruin their careers. I don't think, unless you're an actual German player or Counter-Strike fan, you care too much more about that. I think the most interesting bit that came out of this was the back and forth with Spirit, because Spirit did that whole academy thing where they announced like 4 new academy teams. And I think that Roman had said some things which had upset the Spirit CEO, which I don't think was the implication. Right, there's obviously a lot more young talent coming out of Russia than there is out of Germany, right?
Yeah. I think the line from Roman was something like that Spirit can have 200 players on $100 a month contract or something, which obviously he wasn't being serious completely about that. But yeah, that was it's that prompted the reaction from the Spirit CEO.
As Simple said in that vlog, every joke, a little bit of truth.
A little bit of truth.
And the thing is, like, when you're about 14 to 16, if you're getting a couple of $100 a week or even a month, right?
Especially if you're Russian, man.
Remember when you were a kid? Imagine if you were getting that much money to play Counter-Strike back then. Like, I know it's not a lot in the scheme of the world, but to be a kid and probably still at school and playing CS, like it's a as long as
now it's $300 when I was in high school, just like going into my first year of high school or something, I was getting 300 euros a month. That's like was on top of my allowance or whatever at the time. That'd be fucking great.
I mean, I was talking to a friend from legendary Locastic Esports, best creation team of all time. He said this was 2018. If he was paid 500 euros, he would quit his job and just played CS. His job was obviously paid more, but it's like, fuck it. I can kind of survive, not do anything, just play Counter-Strike all day and, pay basic bills. So, obviously things are extremely more expensive thanks to inflation, but, a few €100 go a long way.
It also is like the way that the game has evolved and changed over the years, right? A few $100 back in the day was what the top pro teams were getting 20 years ago. And now that we're able to give that to academy players, I think that's really quite cool. So I look forward to see what next level of talent Russia's able to push out. Finally, PGL Belgrade has been moved back to Bucharest in the studio. This is the second time they've kind of had the venue taken away from them within the year. At the start, obviously, they were meant to go to South America, and then I think that's when they pivoted into doing Cluj, which worked out very well. That was a great first event.
I don't think that was like a venue problem, more like a general logistics location problem.
I think,
But then there was the PGL Krakow that PGL Krakow that they announced, and then it was canceled. Obviously, we know now Katowice came to that location a few weeks later. So obvious how and why that happened, but crazy at the same time. And now this one, at least from what I hear from behind the scenes, was pretty unfortunate. Maybe not something they could have stopped, because essentially what's happening in that arena at that time is a ATP tennis tournament with like Novak Djokovic being involved, and like he is probably the biggest, maybe not biggest, but like top 2 athlete in the country, which means you have
who's the top 1? I mean, the
NBA guy, yeah.
Okay. Jokic,
right? Yeah. It's probably still, it depends on what metrics you're using, right? But the 2 of them are up there.
Yeah. Well, I would say Djokovic in terms of the last 10 years.
Accomplishments and everything, but in terms of like who's earning more money, who's a bigger name, I don't know.
People like basketball a lot.
Basketball is a bigger sport than tennis, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that thing there, I think, I don't know any of the particulars. So like in terms of how that would simmer out, I can understand how, from a country perspective, that your largest tennis star and one of the greatest tennis players to literally ever play the game would take precedent. But the problem I have is like, so does that mean that PGL got money back because of
that's what I'm
contract
like
must have been voided,
confused.
right?
That's what I'm confused about. Like, you even if you have something more important like suddenly come into your city, like you're still fucking like unless there was like some sort of a fuck up from PGL, you're still fucking over a company who just made plans for like a 20,000 venue or whatever it is. Like it's a big venue, right? So that's like that's why it doesn't compute to me. It's like kind of crazy.
But this is the thing that people, I don't want to speculate because I don't actually know, but there's only a few ways that, like, if you had a contract and everything was paid for, or at least you'd put the deposit down, right? So one of two things has happened here. Either the country/venue has voided the contract, which means that you would probably receive some type of compensation for being inconvenienced, or the contract and stuff wasn't in place as it needed to be, and then they were able to do that, right? It can only really be one of those two options, and we don't know which of the two options it was. So either way, I guess it doesn't actually matter unless this starts to become a frequent thing, because we've also had Rivals this year that was meant to go to Monterrey not happening. And I think that the biggest disappointment probably from a community perspective, and I think for Serbia, the Serbian Counter-Strike fans should be really, really sad, because we haven't had an event in Belgrade other than the award show. And you know, Prof doesn't allow regular folk to come to that. He's the gatekeeper.
TWC 2016 was like the last.
And we had that little rumor from like the Aurora guy, the Aurora CEO, that was like kind of suggesting as if that was going to be a major as well next year. So like that's also like one of those, you know, if that's going to change, if they can't, you know, run it in that location and see how it goes.
At least Budapest is close enough. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, that's just a little bit sad. So hopefully those work. We want
as a viewer events. It's just like fuck studio events, right? It's they're necessary. I know not everything can be in an arena, but this just feels so much less important, especially unless you get some crazy storyline. Like we got some really good ones across the year, even Bucharest with the whole G2 versus Falcons, Monacy leaving, like Complexity making a run. You know, there are some good stories in that tournament that made it. It could have been much worse. You know, Rivals also got a great grand final. Most of the group stage was whatever. No one remembers that. But the great final, Falcons, Vitality setting up those storylines, and Mouse versus Falcons and all of these things. So we're kind of lucky, but like when things are in an arena, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, that's the where we obviously you need the crowd to turn out. But yeah, okay. Well, I think unless we've got anything else to say, gentlemen, we have reached the logical conclusion to the end of the show. We have run a little bit over, but the Blast Desk, I believe I'm just running an ad right now. I think it goes live quite truly within a couple of minutes. So this works out perfectly for everybody's start to the last day of stage 2 of the major. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the major so far. Remember, this is the culmination of the season, so get all the Counter-Strike in while you can. Once we do finish this off on the 22nd of the month, there will be no Counter-Strike for just under a month, because Fisher starts in 35 days from now. So that's actually in the tournament break, which is going to become more and more eroded as the years go by. But that's not really what I was making a point about. It was get out there, watch yourself some Nemiga-HEROIC, some Baitlin Vision, and some FaZe MIBR. Shout out to the sponsors as per usual. That's Anthros and Skin Place. Skins to sell, beats to sit in. And Prof Strike, you got anything else you want to say before we shut this down?
Yeah, in Austin.
See you in a week.
All right. See everybody at the live show. Remember, tickets are still available. Thank you for joining us. And I hope my outbursts were not too terrible for everybody today. Goodbye.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.